Chapter 402. Is this guy's brain fried? To run to the firepower area, that is where our attacks are the strongest. A student said with a face of confusion. In the other direction of the base, in the Blood Meridian's laboratory, a group of people with all sorts of different shapes and sizes gathered together. Good. I already said that the bitch is not so simple. She has been eyeing us for a long time. Could it be that there were people from outside? An old man scolded unwillingly. This time we were snatched by the bitches who forge iron first. In the past he did not even put mechanical engineers in his eyes. In all the professions mechanical engineers had been declining for too long, to the point that only mechanical martial artists could be compared to them. A trace of uneasiness rose in his heart. Duanmu was very careful. His experience in sneaking around was extremely rich. Regardless of whether it was the control of light or the suppression of sound, they were all perfect. He felt that his condition that night was the best. His body had an appropriate degree of excitement. His mind was extremely calm. Every time he was in such a state, he would be able to display his abilities and obtain inconceivable victories. Mechanical Weapons Laboratory. That's right. Old Man Fei was extremely excited. Previously, everyone knows about the expansion of the metal forging department. Humph. It was the metal forging department. They were jealous of our scale and wanted to expand. Boss had no choice and could only reluctantly agree. All of the mechanical engineers held their breaths. Sai Lei's arrogant words entered their ears, causing their fighting intent to soar. The fear on their faces became even thicker. Oh my god, that was too scary. They did not have any good feelings towards the Mechanical Weapons Laboratory, and called it the Metal Forging Department. And the boss of the Mechanical Weapons Laboratory, Sai Lei, was called the bitch who forged iron. Everyone get ready. Now at beginning. Destroy him. Old Man Fei was extremely vexed. Our reaction was too slow. What's wrong with the bitch? Madame Sun said coldly. A few of the female Blood Meridian specialists all had a gloomy face. Are all experts so stubborn? Another student asked innocently. We definitely cannot lose to them. To lose to a bitch, this old man cannot accept it. Boss, are we just going to watch like this? Another student said unwillingly. For the funds. That is a good thing. The students did not understand. Is the boss out of money? Mozu did not even look at them and continued to immerse himself in the plot. For this glorious tradition to continue, Team A will become the first testing group for the new mechanical spirit weapons. Suddenly a shadow fell from above. A few mechanical wolves quietly appeared on the city wall not far away, their bodies glowing with a metallic luster. A mechanical malfunction caused an accident during training. Mozu said expressionlessly. After a few days of investigation, Duanmu understood the base very well. Many people in Three Spirit City proudly claimed that the base had the most advanced mechanical techniques, and from the looks of it, it was not without reason. Their movements were light and agile, and the sound of their feet landing on the ground was very soft. When they lined up, they were like an army. Everyone was in high spirits. In the corner, Duanmu carefully sized up the bronze wolves, praising in his heart, the craftsmanship was truly exquisite. These bronze wolves were about the same size as real wolves, and were different from normal mechanical wolves. They looked extremely exquisite. Without thick joints or bloated bodies, they were like works of art, very beautiful. However, their glistening blue claws and teeth made them look very dangerous. Boss, it's not that exaggerated, right? The student who was hit said with grievance. The mechanical wolf did not seem to have noticed him and slowly advanced forward, not revealing any form of attack. The student swallowed his saliva. Boss, what you said is too scary. He cleared his throat and imitated Sai Lei's tone and said, recently we have researched a brand new mechanical spirit weapon. To test its actual battle capabilities, we will temporarily let you Team A experience it. Just at that moment, a rustling sound came from below the city wall. Duanmu felt weird, but the mechanical wolf was already very close to him, and he was unable to look down to see what was happening. Mozu warned, do you know who you cannot provoke in this base? The 108 Bronze Men's Square formation has been assembled. Scary? Mozu looked at the group of immature students with pity and continued to sneer. That's scary? You guys are too inexperienced. How did I die? Boss. The student who was pointed at asked with a face full of confusion. Mozu waved his hand. In the future, please call her first big sister. Tonight, Mozu's team was in charge of guarding, and a large group of people surrounded the video discussing enthusiastically. There shouldn't be any relation, Madame Lin said uncertainly. That's right. Mozu rolled her eyes. What? Don't tell me you want to snatch Big Sister's business? Exaggerated? Mozu sneered. Do you know why I am the group leader and you are a small fart? It is because of the difference in our taste and foresight. Master Bing is a big figure, he will not care about the matters below. Boss Cho, we have offended him, at most we will be punished with training, confinement or something. But think about it, what are the consequences of offending Big Sister? Inside the base it was already a mess. His face revealed a look of caution and then his pupils constricted. Profound. Boss, your words are too profound and classic. Everyone below exploded. Nest umbrella, enter the designated position. She stared at Duanmu in the video, her face revealing a crazed expression, her snow-white hands, loosened her collar and fiercely muttered to herself, to dare to be impudent in my territory, you must be tired of living. Duanmu was experienced and knowledgeable, but it was the first time he had seen someone who could create a mechanical wolf to such a standard. Activate the scissors defense. The stakes are too high. Old Man Fei shook his head and said in a deep voice, everyone's days have been good, but we cannot be careless. It was not easy to find such a generous boss. If we were to lose this golden thigh, everyone's days will not be good. Sigh, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. The innocent companions were so scared that their faces started to turn white. Flatten the iron smithing division. The companions with faces full of fear all nodded their heads and said in unison, First Big Sister. The bronze wolves formed a line and patrolled along the walls. If it was like that, it would not be a bad thing for him as it was beneficial for him to fish in troubled waters. Without being clear of the situation, he would not act blindly without thinking. That was his experience. Her beautiful eyes suddenly widened, and she spat out 3 words like a fire-breathing dragon. Duanmu did not move. Mozu nodded his head in satisfaction. Who else dares to snatch Big Sister's business? Old Man Fei signaled for everyone to be quiet and continued, what you guys said did not happen, boss is good. But everyone think about it, no matter how rich boss is, he has a limit to his money. If he gave it to us it would be fine, but we still have a competitor. Incessant reports entered Sai Lei's ears. The excited Sai Lei stepped on the chair with one leg, the tight-fitting leather one-piece battle uniform, accentuating her perfect curves under the light. Her bewitching lipstick flashed with a sexy and crazy luster. Suddenly his ears moved. Mozu crossed his arms and casually replied, she is an expert after all. Duanmu was surprised, but his heart calmed down. He was definitely not the only one keeping an eye on the bronze base. Maybe there were other people taking action tonight. The student who spoke just now mumbled, Boss, you can't be talking about Big Sister Sai Lei, right? The student immediately shrunk his neck and did not say anything. The mechanical wolves have completed the encirclement. That's right, that's right. You're talking about the old lady who forged iron? The skinny old man asked. Something good? Mozu pointed to a few students with his orchid fingers. Then you died. A group of old men and women dressed in colorful clothes spread out with killing intent. Their faces were filled with fear and their faces were pale white. Duanmu raised his head unknowingly. The bronze umbrellas had already floated outside the city walls. Mozu glanced at the students. Can you be an expert if you think it through? Everyone shook their heads like a rattle drum. But now he realized mechanical engineers were truly an annoying profession. There were all sorts of weird things, making it hard for people to defend against. Especially if the mechanical engineer's standard was high, then it was even more annoying. Old Man Fei nodded his head satisfyingly. Everyone defend well. From what I see, the metal forging department is not reliable. To truly make the final decision, it is still our Blood Meridian's laboratory. Everyone be alert for the funds. Duanmu held his breath. Like a shadow, he shrunk into a corner. Duanmu was very calm. He had long expected to meet with mechanical beasts. There were many outstanding mechanical engineers here. It would be weird if there were no mechanical beasts. Mozu continued to sneer. When you guys are training, suddenly crack the joints of the mechanical spirit weapon break. Then you will be like a graceful swan. Even the arc you fly out is very graceful. If you were to fight, you will become a graceful swan. Use your brain, please. They are in charge of logistics. If they move their fingers, your lives will be gone. Bullshit. Mozu's hand immediately knocked the student's head, his gaze sweeping across the rest. All of you better remember this: you can provoke anyone, but you definitely cannot provoke Big Sister. Little guy, you can still hold it in. Bronze Wolf. What's wrong with boss? All 360 mechanical crossbows are to be activated. The student started to suck up to him. Mozu was enjoying it. He patted the student's shoulder. Young lad, work hard. Old man Fei saw that there was going to be a civil war and immediately changed the topic. So we definitely cannot let the metal forging department look down on us. We need to let boss see to give us the funds. Compared to the metal forging department, we are much more useful. Mozu's orchid fingers appeared again, imitating Sai Lei's tone of mourning. I never thought that this mechanical spirit weapon would actually have such a serious flaw. We will go through a new round of modifications and upgrades. The students who sacrificed themselves for the development of our mechanical spirit weapon have made an indelible contribution. We will pay our respects to them. Chapter 403. I bet 7 rounds. Chi. Duanmu took a deep breath. Unknowingly, a big silver shield appeared in his hands. Unique sword technique. Heavenly Dragon Roar. A sword appeared in his hand. The sword struck out like the wind, the sharp sword aura effortlessly slicing the bronze man in front of him into two. But he was not the least bit happy. The bronze rod on his left smashed over with an astonishing sound of wind, the spear, blade and sword on his right. The remaining few mechanical wolves flew back and their vitality was greatly injured. I bet 10 rounds. The student tactfully changed the topic. Bang. The movement on the ground caused Duanmu's heart to jump. He immediately lowered his head to look. Duanmu had already lost his breath. But his reaction was fast. He gathered his remaining true power and injected it into the silver spear. Pooh! He stabbed the silver spear into the city wall. These scissors were the size of a palm. Ka-cha, they opened and closed very quickly. They were like a group of hungry insects. His entire body froze. Unknowingly, a silver spear appeared in his hands. The orderly mechanism sounds came out. The bronze umbrellas that were quietly floating started to rotate at high speeds. Duanmu was like a nimble monkey. His body swayed. Like a swing, he jumped back onto the city wall. Duanmu then understood that the opponent had long discovered him. The bronze umbrellas floated outside to prevent him from escaping. He did not understand how the opponent discovered him. But it was not the time to think about it. Scuculum Constellation Silver Treasure. Bull Heavy Shield. Pa. Not good. Hoo. Duanmu understood that the opponent wanted to prevent him from escaping. It meant that the opponent was confident and had made sufficient preparations. If it was a normal martial artist, they would definitely be in a mess. But Duanmu was extremely calm. In the blink of an eye, Duanmu was completely surrounded by the densely packed bronze men. He was isolated and helpless. Bang! Sai Lei exclaimed in admiration. Then he snapped his fingers. Ka. A sense of danger rose in his heart. The patrolling mechanical wolves stopped in unison. They turned around and stared at him with their blue eyes. The floorboard started to flip. In the blink of an eye, 108 bronze men formed an orderly square formation. They were all staring at him. The floorboard started to flip. 9 bronze men appeared on the floor. The big shield lit up with a dazzling light aura. Then it exploded into 10 pieces and flew in all directions. It's called Bronze Man C. The student was frightened by the leader's terrifying face. He started to speak incoherently. I. Duanmu heard the voice and knew it was powerful. He subconsciously dodged to the side. The mechanical wolf was much sturdier than he had imagined. It was actually able to withstand such a powerful attack. Duanmu knew that he would not be able to obtain any benefits today, and did not have the heart to continue fighting. After repelling the mechanical wolves, he turned and flew out of the city walls. The low sound of a crossbow's bowstring sounded out, and 3 shockingly thick rays of light shot towards Duanmu, who was wielding his shield. Even in the darkness he could see everything clearly. Even Duanmu could see everything clearly. Even in Duanmu. Although it jiang it. His outstanding balance was displayed without a doubt. Under the situation where his true power was in disorder, he was still able to maintain his stability. He was like a big bird gliding in the air. The silver spear in his hand was the Northern Sky Triangulum Constellation Treasure. Triangular Rain Spear. This move was its killing move, Triangle Rain. Looks like I have to clean up the mess. Mo Wu Wei rubbed his chin and muttered to himself. Without turning his head, he said, "Everyone prepare for battle. Come on, let's tell him there's a kind of sea. Please, can you grow some brains?" Mozu rolled his eyes. Of course we are betting on how long he can last under Big Sister's merciless torture. Big Sister is so fierce, who can beat her? His body twisted strangely in midair and was about to slide down the outer wall of the city. At this moment his pupils shrank again. But very quickly he noticed that something was wrong because his surroundings had suddenly become incomparably quiet. The floorboards around Duan Mu started to flip one by one, like a wave spreading out. "Boss, your eyes are like a torch." Duan Mu's heart jumped. The other party had already noticed his infiltration. This base actually had something as terrifying as a stronghold crossbow. Even the bad habits of these wily old foxes were not neglected by him. Everyone's eyes lit up. One of the students asked excitedly, "Boss, do we bet on winning or losing?" Ever since he became the group leader, his temperament had become much more lively, as though he had changed into a different person. But he had no choice. In his group, there were many wily old foxes. If he did not mingle with everyone, no one would listen to him. He was not like Mo Wu Wei, who had a high position in the family, so he could only lower his status and mingle with everyone first. Duan Mu's breathing became rough. This sword technique killing move, if it was any other time, naturally would not be a problem, but now that he had continuously attacked, not only did it cause him to be injured, even his breathing and rhythm were completely messed up. Forcefully using it, the meridians in his body were immediately damaged. The tip of his sword lightly touched the bronze rod, and the blade of the sword bent greatly before straightening again. Borrowing this force, he suddenly sped up and rushed into the 3 bronze men on the right. His sword flashed continuously, and the 3 bronze men were heavily damaged in the lower half of their joints. The crisp and clear sounds of impact were concentrated like rain, sparks flying from every mechanical wolf's body. They were hit hard, their bodies trembling violently, and they flew out. 2 crossbow arrows brushed past his body. The airflow caused his entire body to go numb, and the remaining crossbow arrow hit the big shield in his hands. Ding ding ding. Bang. Mo Wu Wei was like a mechanical puppet as he stiffly turned his neck, expressionless. "You want to change groups?" He was completely unable to describe the scene of 108 bronze men shooting towards him at the same time. He was 100% sure that it was not his imagination. All the bronze men raised their heads in an orderly manner, staring at him. "Should we go and help them?" a student asked weakly. A standard thrust, the silver spear exploded into a silver rain, forming a perfect triangle enveloping all the mechanical wolves. Almost at the same time, the mechanical wolves used all their strength and rushed towards him at an astonishing speed. Duan Mu saw that he had been exposed and did not hide anymore. Without any intention of dodging, he took the initiative to rush towards the mechanical wolves that were rushing towards him. Bang! This move was the only famous move of the shield-type martial technique, Great Windmill. The opponent's tight arrangement would only make them arrogant, and to him, it was an opportunity. The sharp sound of air breaking came from all directions. The arrows were like rain, there were no blind spots. "Pa pa pa, pa 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 pa. Are you complimenting me for having big eyes?" Mozu blinked his small eyes and said. A few hundred scissors jumped up high, releasing a ear-piercing kacha-kacha sound. The opening and closing of the scissors brought up a gust of air, which was less than half a meter away from his feet. Voila! Duan Mu could not care about anything else. He tiptoed and like an arrow leaving the bow, he rushed into the base. Below the city walls, there was an additional jet-black river. The Overlord bow was an even more powerful stronghold-type mechanical crossbow. Its power was astonishing, but its weakness was that the preparation time was longer and the firing frequency was very slow. Duan Mu, who was in mid-air, controlled his body, his true power accumulating. He was like a leaf slowly floating down. As expected of a mechanical grandmaster. Duan Mu groaned, the area between his thumb and index finger dripping with blood. The huge impact caused him to fly out. Duan Mu's heart sank. His first move was a killing technique. He wanted to get rid of the mechanical wolves in one move. But he did not expect that he would only destroy 2 mechanical wolves. This result was far below his expectations. Hearing their leader's words that were filled with killing intent, the rest of them obediently kept quiet. Suddenly, his pupils constricted in his vision. there were many bronze umbrellas floating. He knew that he could not hesitate. He forcefully raised his true power, the sword light in his hand exploding. The huge overlord bow had 9 7th-level star rocks embedded in it, releasing a dazzling light aura. The crossbow string was slowly pulled back. The thick and sturdy crossbow arm was slowly changing shape, releasing a sound that caused people's scalps to go numb. The crossbow arrow that was thicker than an arm, the cold light flickering from the arrowhead, caused people's hearts to palpitate. Seeing Duanmu's power, Sai Lei was not the least bit angry, but instead felt extremely excited. His eyes lit up. One of his legs stepped on the chair and shouted, "Where's the Overlord Bao? Oh, we want to let him have a taste of the Overlord Bao." Mo Wu Wei was like a mechanical puppet. He turned his head back stiffly. After a while he touched his chin and muttered, "How can I win against them?" Duanmu's scalp went numb. So strong. Mo Ziyu's eyes almost dropped to the ground. He patted his chest with lingering fear. "Oh my god, so fierce. Luckily we have Big Sister suppressing us. Come, everyone start placing your bets. This is such a good situation. If we don't place our bets, it will be a loss." Throng. Mo Wu Wei from another group stared at the screen for a long time. Even though he was calm and collected, his head was about to explode. The size of the shield was astonishing. It was 3 m tall. Its width was over 1.5 m. It was much bigger than Duanmu's body. Are my eyes really that big? The bronze arrows that were shot onto the shield were immediately deflected and shot out in all directions, crackling like rain. A series of explosions came out from the city walls, but before the fragments of the explosions could fly out, they were shot out by the spider webs and entangled tightly. That section of the city wall was wrapped with a layer of dense spider webs. Duanmu had a lingering fear. If he was half a beat slower, he would definitely be entangled like a dumpling. The star power flowed from the shield into his arms, causing his arms to expand rapidly. He exhaled loudly, swinging the heavy shield like a windmill. It brought forth an astonishing afterimage. Rumble, rumble. Duanmu maintained his composure. He stood at his original position, not moving an inch. But the power of the bronze rod caused the blood in Duanmu's chest to churn. But at that moment he did not have the time to adjust his breathing. Stronghold crossbow. Damn it. The sword aura was astonishingly sharp, sweeping everything in its path. The 20-odd bronze men beside Duanmu were all destroyed at the same time. Powerful. Her face exposed a charming smile. Her sexy and alluring lips softly spat out 4 words. The mechanical wolf's attacks flew towards him, 10 crescent-shaped blade auras, instantly appearing in front of him. The sword roared like a dragon. A dazzling sword aura, spiraling like a dragon, rose from the ground. 2 of the mechanical wolves could not withstand the attacks and exploded in the air. The group of mechanical wolves charged into the triangular rain of spears. All of the nest umbrellas were scattered outside the city walls, making it much more comfortable inside. Xiao. His companions felt their scalps go numb, but they did not dare to object and replied in unison, "Yes." Countless of thin threads shot out from the bronze umbrellas towards him. In the blink of an eye, these thin threads formed an impenetrable net in front of him. Chapter 404. Since it's like that, then let's listen to what the smart people have to say. Are you for real? Don't get it wrong again. Tang Tian's face was full of suspicion and distrust. The Blood Meridian's laboratory exploded. When Tang Tian returned to Three Spirit City, the person who welcomed him was Sai Lei. Then why did we double our training? His voice resonated throughout the base. Can we eat and dash? Yes, as long as we reach Aquarius constellation, we can return to Southern Cross constellation. Bing was certain. Despicable. I'll help you chop it up. Simply. Master was finally going to be freed from the meat skewers. Tears streamed down his cheeks. Duanmu. Bell jumped in fright. Weapon rack. Duanmu. Mo Wu Wei shook his head. It doesn't matter. Idiot. Don't you know how to run? Run to the left. There's a path there. Won't we have 2 more rounds if we take a detour? Zhou Xian's eyes lit up. His heart was in ecstasy and he almost cried tears of joy. There's no need to check. Sai Lei said happily, I already know. It's over the funds. This asshole. His mind is extremely calm and decisive. His battle achievements are glorious. I have never heard of him and Grand Duke Huofu Man being involved. Bell continued, but if it is Grand Duke Huofu Man, it is not strange. The playboy that boss and Sai Lei teased the last time is Huofu Man's son. Tang Cho reported, Master Bing is busy with Sky Martial Wolf Academy. I surrender. No, Master, this is a genius idea. Mo Wu Wei's group. Finished, he unceremoniously brought Zhou Xian under the water tap and turned it to the maximum. The situation is not looking good. Bell muttered. Leo Constellation and the Honorable Martial Alliance just went through a huge battle, and the Honorable Martial Alliance lost more than 16 gold-ranked martial artists. The Honorable Martial Alliance is constantly mobilizing their strength. If boss wants to leave, he has to leave as soon as possible. I have discussed with Pai Pa before from a certain perspective. The 10 Equatorial Palace halls are the vassals of the 12 Ecliptic palaces, and the flames of war will spread to the 10 Equatorial Palace halls, and at that time, it will not be easy to leave. Aquarius. Tang Tian was stunned. Xianxia rushed all the way to the restaurant. Tang Tian's face turned ugly. Sky Wolf Martial Academy, Energy Hall. His first reaction was that his pocket had deflated again. Where's Uncle Bing? Is he busy? Tang Tian asked curiously. After being splashed with cold water, Zhou Xian completely woke up. Looking at the mountain of flesh in front of him, he immediately became dispirited. He casually picked up a bamboo stick and stabbed it into the mountain of flesh without even looking at it. Ophiuchus Constellation. How does Master wish to leave? Ding Dang asked. Little Tang, you finally have time to visit me? Could it be that he missed his sister? And Pai Pa and Tang Cho, the two of you will be in charge. We will now introduce the progress of every aspect and see if we can think of a good idea. Tang Tian noticed the change in Bing's expression. He knew what Bing was worried about and consoled him. Uncle, don't worry too much. Although the Ophiuchus army is powerful, but it has been so long and they have long been annihilated. The current Ophiuchus constellation is not as strong as it was in the past. Bullshit. Mozu scolded. This bit of money is not even enough for us to go in and drink some soup. Do you want us to wash the dishes there to redeem ourselves? This was the duo that sneaked out from Aries constellation. The two of them did not have any experience in traveling. They had reached Cetus constellation with great difficulty, but they did not expect to spend all their star coins. Furthermore, the star door from Cetus constellation to Lupus constellation was sealed. Helpless, the two of them could only work to earn a living and wait for the star door to open again. They had not even warmed their star coins and the asshole had already spent them. The uncle in the restaurant saw Xianxia and Zhou Xian, who was on his shoulder, and shook his head. Big Sure, your brother is too lazy. You should quickly marry a lady and live a good life. Don't be burdened by him. But Zhou Xian suddenly let out a miserable scream. No, it's definitely not. There were not many people eating barbecued meat in the morning, but there were many people drinking morning tea. I overestimated him. If I had known, I would have bet 3 rounds. Zhou Xian mumbled, let's sleep for a while more. Mozu was elated, the smile on his face could not be concealed. Big sister is so powerful, but you guys are actually so conservative. As expected, I am the king of gambling kings. Hurry, all of you, hand over your money. Just at this time, the others all rushed over. The big boss was here. Regardless of what everyone was busy with, they all rushed over without saying a word. Ayen, string all these up. But Tang Chao's report of the battle attracted Tang Tian's attention. Seeing that Bing's words had a hidden meaning, Tang Tian did not object. He turned and looked at Belle. Then let's go to Aquarius constellation. I checked the star map. If we go from Andromeda constellation, we can save a lot of trouble. I only need to enter Orion constellation, and then enter the 10 Equatorial Palace halls. There are many options to enter the 12 Ecliptic Palace halls from the 10 Equatorial Palace halls. Tang Tian counted with his fingers. Sai Lei said, it's Ophiuchus constellation. Old rules, the winner will treat us. Since boss won, then let's go to the Haoxing Grand Restaurant. Weapon rack. Tang Tian thought he heard wrongly. Xianxia opened his eyes in a daze and immediately got up. He shook Zhou Xian, who was beside him. Yen, quickly get up. We have to go to work. Bing's face suddenly changed. Are you sure? The students behind him were all stunned. They all thought they heard wrongly. One of the students gathered his courage and said, Master, he is so weak, what has it got to do with us? Zhou Xian stopped in his tracks and immediately pricked up his ears. Mozu's group. Damn it. This month's allowance is gone. The next time you bet, I'll chop off your hands." He carelessly stabbed and stabbed. Every skewer was extremely accurate. Without spending much energy, the entire basin of meat became skewers. He picked up the basin and walked towards the barbecue room. 5 pieces of meat were skewered on the bamboo skewers, 4 lean and 1 fat. "Idiot, I'm a girl." "No." Tang Tian shook his head. "I wanted to ask Belle about the situation outside. I don't want to stay in Andromeda constellation for too long. I want to go to Southern Cross constellation." Duan Mu looked at the densely packed bronze men. He suddenly threw down the sword in his hand and raised both his hands. Sai Lei, Pai Pa, Belle, Old Man Fei and Tang Chou were all here. "Wait a minute, where's Uncle Bing? He knows all the weapons, that's too powerful." Tang Tian's face was full of surprise. Such an ability was unimaginable. Tang Tian did not understand. Flowing Wind Group? Why did they attack us? "You guys forgot that I have a captive in my hands." Sai Lei laughed. Bang, a big basin was placed in front of Zhou Xian. It was filled with pieces of meat, piling up into a meat mountain. Beside the basin there was a big pile of bamboo skewers. Hearing that, Tang Tian immediately agreed. He did not have much hope for his brain. Yes, he appears and disappears unpredictably. Who would have thought that he would run to Andromeda constellation? Belle immediately explained. Duan Mu is an extremely famous assassin. He is ranked 3222 on the Heaven Road list. He has an innate intuition towards weapons. Any weapon in his hands can unleash astonishing power. Over time, everyone started calling him Weapon Rack. Andromeda constellation. I just thought of it. Do you have anything to say? Mo Wu Wei looked at him. Tang Tian jumped in fright. As though he was avoiding a snake or a scorpion, he dodged Sai Lei's demonic palm. Yes, you're right. Bing had regained his composure. He changed the topic. Why do you have the time to come here? Have you settled the matters in Andromeda City? Bing replied, trust me. Chapter 405. Tang Tian patted Crane's shoulder with a solemn expression of, I'll leave it all to you, and then left. Ta Dun's heart sank. Everything needed money. Andromeda constellation had always been a secluded place, and Ta Dun was used to placing his sights on Andromeda constellation, at most within northern sky's 19 continents, but that was the limitation of his thinking. But there was no doubt about his abilities and he could understand all the analysis. Crane said solemnly, we will hand over all the energy beasts to you, but we have a few requests. At this time Bing's eyes were looking at his nose, and his nose was looking at his heart. He was somewhat guilty. Tang Tian waved his hand, good math. Taking a deep breath, Ta Dun regained his composure and said, I never thought that Lupus constellation would care about the world. Could it be that Mr. Tang Tian is thinking of contending for Heaven's Road? Crane quickly felt the pressure and the star coins disappeared like water. Three Spirit City was desperately upgrading and the consumption was astonishing. Ophiuchus constellation was like a huge mountain pressing on everyone's hearts, and with Three Spirit City's current strength, it was impossible to defend against Ophiuchus constellation. Everyone could only hope that it was Duke Huofu Man's idea, and not Ophiuchus constellations. Pai Pa and Tang Chou talked a lot in many new terms, causing Tang Tian to feel dizzy. Tang Chou's words were sharp and often hit the nail on the head, while Pai Pa was neither servile nor overbearing, and argued for what was right, causing the two to quarrel frequently. Ta Dun was surprised, but more than that he was gratified that his daughter had grown up. When will you be back? Angelina asked with concern. Tang Tian, you can do it. Crane was swift and decisive and very quickly checked all the storage and star coins, and then requested for Tang Chou and Pai Pa to come up with a strategic analysis report, and at the same time requested for all parties to submit their applications. That's right. Tang Tian said, you know a lot, have a lot of experience and are smart. Of course, the most important thing is, who should I pass it to? Thirdly, my side does not wish for a third army to be equipped with Andromeda star treasures other than Lupus army and Plateau army. This requires your side to think of a way to sell it. I never thought that Andromeda constellation would be in danger. Angelina was anxious. I wonder if Master Crane has any good ideas. Was this guy crazy? Orion constellation was the Leo constellation's staunch ally, and thus suffered the crazy retaliation of the Honorable Martial Alliance. The starry door was always the deciding factor in a war. Controlling the starry door meant controlling the flow of the war. Lupus constellation was most likely just the tip of the iceberg for Tang Tian. However, Tang Tian still tried his best to write down the conclusions that everyone had deduced. None of this was a problem. Then Tang Tian discovered a terrifying place. Firstly, we want the Lupus army to be able to change their equipment in the shortest time possible. Atu stood at the side with his hands by his side, not saying a word. 20 billion star coins. There is no problem with the alliance. In such a chaotic world, both of us need to help each other in order to get through this difficult time. What do you need, please tell me? Angelina said resolutely. He requested to meet with Angelina and Ta Dun. Both of them were surprised. After interacting with each other for a while, they realized that the one in charge was Tang Tian. This time it was Crane who initiated the meeting. Although the two of them were suspicious, they did not delay and quickly arranged for the meeting. Godlike young lad, you need to focus on training. The road ahead is not smooth. Although Tang Tian and Pai Pa were arguing intensely, there was one thing that they agreed on, and that was that the flames of war would quickly spread. Tang Tian did not forget to sell his strategy for Fornax constellation, and obtain Sai Lei's strong support. Only then could he truly be free. Yes. Crane did not hide anything. We are just passing by Andromeda constellation. We have other things to settle. As long as Ophiuchus constellation did not go all out, Crane was not worried about the safety of Three Spirit City. Three Spirit City's manpower was luxurious, and with the help of the Mo family, there should not be any big problems. I do not know yet. Crane shook his head. In the report, it was pointed out that Andromeda constellation would become a muddy swamp with many parties fighting. These starry doors would become the targets of the big powerhouses. Tang Tian was extremely proud of his brilliant idea. It could not be more brilliant. Angelina and Ta Dun were even more suspicious. The two of them took the paper and looked through it, and their faces suddenly became ugly. He threw all these worries to the back of his head. He knew that his brain was not good. Since that was the case, then he would leave the problem to everyone else. Everyone was smart and trustworthy. Crane muttered in his heart, looked at Tang Tian and asked seriously, "Do you really want me to manage the money? This is a lot of money." Ta Dun did not express his opinion. This kind of analysis was not something anyone could come up with. He was secretly shocked. The power behind Tang Tian was much stronger than he thought. A simple-minded person would only do simple things. Can I only protect myself? Angelina asked unwillingly. Of course. Godlike young lad is a person who does big things. How can I waste my precious time on these small things? So little Crane, I will leave everything to you. To let you carry out your work better, I will give you an assistant. Then leave the battle to me. After the initial chaos, very quickly he settled everything neatly. Tang Tian's path to Aquarius constellation was discussed by everyone. But no matter what, Duke Huafu Man would not let it go. He would definitely retaliate. And Pai Pa's defensive strategy of Three Spirit City was supported by Old Man Fei. Want money, want money, want money. After a while, Angelina reacted. Blood rushing to her head, she stammered, "How many energy beasts do you have?" The Andromeda star treasure was very important and could not be given to others. As for the position of Andromeda constellation, if he could fully equip Lupus army, this Lupus army could completely defend Andromeda constellation. Tang Tian could not remember. Tang Tian could not help but clench his fists tightly. Secondly, these energy beasts will be provided to you, and in the future when the treasures are sold, we hope to get 30% of the profits. But he needed to ensure the funds since he had agreed to it, then he had to do it well. No problem. Before the Lupus army is fully equipped, the Andromeda battle gown will definitely not be sold. The paper in his hand was thin, but it caused his hands to tremble. A frail-looking spirit general with an ordinary appearance bowed to Crane. "Master Crane, I am called Atu, please take care of me." It was an appropriate ratio showing that the other party was not greedy. Angelina agreed without hesitation. No problem. The martial spirit used to create Atu was very weak, so Atu's grade was extremely low regardless of whether it was commanding or martial strength. It was the lowest grade. His only use was to travel between Three Spirit City and Crane's location, and was the assistant that Tang Tian gave to Crane. Both parties sat down. Crane did not speak any nonsense and took out a piece of paper. "I have something here. I wish for your Majesty and Great General to take a look." "Please speak," Angelina said solemnly. Everyone's arithmetic is better than you. This caused Crane's prestige to soar, and even big sister Sai Lei did not dare to provoke him, and only dared to mutter behind his back. For a man to be so beautiful, it is truly too much. Little Tang Tang is still the best, although he is slightly ugly, but he is so generous. Crane was surprised. I am in charge of the money? Initially, Sai Lei and the rest did not trust Crane, but after that they realized that Crane was extremely fair, and if he was rejected he would definitely give a reason. Speaking of which, the person who was rejected the most was Bing. Bing, who was embarrassed and angry, ran to Crane to question him, but after half a day under Crane's sincere gaze and calm explanation he left dejectedly. Tang Tian felt that he needed someone like a manager to help him, as everyone ran to him to ask for money, causing him to have a headache. This person had to be able to convince everyone and had to be capable. Anyway, he definitely could not be handed over to Bing, although Bing often bragged that he was in charge of logistics, but his tyrant style definitely made people hate him. What is it? Crane asked. Alliance. Angelina revealed an interested look. I hope Master Crane can enlighten me. Suddenly Tang Tian's eyes lit up. He thought of a good candidate. The three of you will leave? Ta Dun revealed a surprised look. Do not go to Orion Constellation. That was disadvantageous to Tang Tian. He did not have any ambitions for the territory, but in the chaotic lands to pass through would not be an easy task. The only fortunate thing was Andromeda Constellation had many star doors, and the range of choices he could make was bigger. Tang Tian felt that the world had suddenly become clear without all the complicated analysis, without all the headache-inducing choices. What he needed to do was to work hard and defeat all the enemies. Crane looked at the general with respect. To be able to regain his composure in such a short time, he was definitely not an ordinary person. Crane needed those words. He kept his smile. My method is very simple. Both of us form an alliance. Your Majesty and the great general already have a decision in their hearts. Crane said, both of us. I have many people and my military strength is strong. Your side has a wide path to wealth and your economy is prosperous. If both of us form an alliance, we can protect ourselves. Fourthly, we hope that your side can first provide us with a loan of 20 billion star coins. The money will be deducted from our side's profits from selling star treasures. Angelina was slightly disappointed, but heaved a sigh of relief. It was obvious that the three of them were not after Andromeda Constellation. Thinking about it, Crane was the nephew of the Sagittarius Empress, and Tang Tian had an unfathomable background. Why would he look at a small place like Andromeda Constellation? Ta Dun nodded his head. Don't worry, we also do not wish for such an army to appear. Yes. Crane said solemnly. The three of us will leave after a period of time, and only the Lupus army will be stationed here. We will build a stronghold at the Seasons Fields waterway, called the Wolf Stronghold. The Wolf Stronghold is very close to Andromeda City. Adding the Great General's Plateau army, I think other people will not dare to start a war. I suggest to your Majesty to move all the people from the other cities of Andromeda Constellation to the vicinity of Andromeda City. According to our calculations, Andromeda Constellation will be affected by the flames of war very soon. Pai Pa was a good choice, but she was young, had a good temper and had low prestige. Just Sai Lei alone was enough to control her. I am really glad I have everyone. Crane revealed a warm smile. Great General thinks too highly of us. We are just a small broken boat. It is already good enough to defend Lupus Constellation. Crane watched as Tang Tian's figure disappeared into the distance. After a long while, his mouth suddenly blossomed into a smile. He stretched his body, stood up and muttered to himself. Then I will help you for 3 years. Oh, 3 years, the contract will be over. Maybe Tang Tian purposely showed it to outsiders to confuse them. Everyone stared at Tang Tian. Their gazes were all green, causing Tang Tian to have goosebumps all over his body. Both Angelina and Ta Dun were dumbfounded by what they saw. The contents on the paper were extracted from Tang Chou and Pai Pa's report, mainly about the current situation and the situation that Andromeda Constellation might face. The two of them were not optimistic about Andromeda Constellation's situation. There were many star doors in Andromeda Constellation. This point was previously their advantage in business, but now, it had become the key point for all parties to fight over. Andromeda Constellation had many star doors, especially the star door that led to Orion Constellation, which had a high possibility of being affected, so they needed to build a stronghold at the Seasons Fields waterway. Not only could it protect the waterway, it could also help Angelina defend Andromeda City. Chapter 406. When Lu Zhongguang heard this, there was nothing he could do. Your Excellency is right. The official could not help but become excited. Many people are praising Your Majesty, saying that if these 24 new cities can be built, then Andromeda constellation will become a small Aquarius constellation. Xiu said in a deep voice, "No, the Fairy Orion Stargate is a twin stargate, it can't be closed." Old man Fei's face was anxious. "Boss, no matter how uncomfortable it is, you must clench your teeth and endure it." Adrian pondered for a moment. This man has a strong insight into the situation. He's a first-rate strategist. Tang Tian was completely unaware that Crane's move had turned the entire Andromeda constellation upside down, as he was cultivating with all his might. Crane, the nephew of the legendary Sagittarius Heavenly Queen? Lu Zhongguang was stunned. That night he had a deep impression of Tang Tian, but he did not have much of an impression of Crane, and only remembered that he looked good. The other type was the solitary star door, which meant that the star power of one constellation was projected to another constellation to form a star door. Single-life star doors could be closed by adjusting the star power. For example, the star door from Cetus constellation to Lupus constellation was a single-life star door. The single-life starry door required the constellation that projected the starry door to be stronger than the constellation being projected, only then could it form a starry door. However, he did not slack off in his cultivation because of this. He felt that there were too many things that he needed to cultivate. For example, the thousand-cleave demonic hand was a martial technique used for tangling. It was extremely effective in a deadlock, but it lacked a killing move. For example, he felt that he did not have a good grasp of the rhythm of hand-to-hand combat. He still felt that his martial soul was progressing slowly. If his intuition could become stronger, he would definitely be able to reach the next level. Also, he needed to improve his Qinggong. Axiu and Lu Zhongguang looked at each other. Among the three, the one who attracted the most attention was Tang Tian, who was known as the godlike young man and the great light whetstone. Next was the hot-tempered and combative spear genius Ling Su. In recent years, there hadn't been anyone with a strong spear technique. Ling Su was highly praised by many spear users. Compared to them, Crane was undoubtedly the most lackluster, but everyone's gazes landed on the fact that he was the nephew of Sagittarius Empress. Crane could not help but smile. 3 Spirits City, Blood Meridian's laboratory. Most people would unknowingly ignore Crane. During this period of hard training, his essence, qi and spirit had reached an unprecedented height. Xiu and Lu Zhongguang's face turned ugly. The fairy plan had spread like wildfire, and they immediately felt that something was wrong. The star door that connected Orion constellation to Andromeda constellation was not in Fairy City. Crane was surprised by Angelina's big move. Angelina's guts were much bigger than what he had imagined. The servant laughed. "Master must be joking, why are you not willing?" Her Majesty said, "It is only valid for 3 months. After 3 months, even if you want to come, you won't be able to come." Crane had to admit Angelina's move was absolutely beautiful. With the fairy plan and the astonishing number of energy beasts in her hands, Crane believed that she would definitely tie the local powerhouses to her war chariot. In the blink of an eye, 20 billion star coins flowed out of his hands like water. Crane secretly nodded his head. Angelina had used benefits to ingeniously gather the essence of Andromeda constellation to Fairy City. It was much more brilliant than what he had thought. Angelina suddenly retracted the entire constellation and cupped her hands to give up the star door. It was definitely not a logical arrangement. But after thinking about it carefully, Adrian realized the beauty of the move. Crane muttered, "If this plan can be completed, Andromeda constellation's future days will be much better." In a few more months, the second batch of Andromeda battle robes would be completed, the wolf stronghold would be built, and they would once again set off. And at that time, what awaited them in front of them would not be a peaceful journey, but a chaotic world filled with the flames of war. Such a terrifying speed of spending money caused him to be shocked, but also filled him with anticipation and curiosity. With the 20 billion invested, when they bear fruit, it would definitely cause everyone to be shocked. Then what's everyone's reaction? Adrian revealed a bitter smile. The expert behind the young lady is truly powerful. This time, Andromeda constellation's situation has become confusing. The star door was the node of Heaven's road, so the fight over the star door was forever the most cruel. This astonishing number caused Angelina and Ta Dun to be immediately petrified, completely scared silly. They had already made sufficient estimations of the energy beasts in Tang Tian's hands, but they never thought that the number would exceed by so much. He felt that his entire body was filled with weaknesses. How could he not work hard? Will there be people who are not willing? Crane asked. With Andromeda Constellation's current weak strength, it was extremely difficult to defend the star door. Taking the initiative to retract the star door could concentrate their strength and preserve Andromeda Constellation's strength. And Andromeda City was where the essence of the entire Andromeda Constellation was. In the dream world of the Indigo Mirror Ocean, his 1,000-cleaved demonic hand had successfully broken through to the Grandmaster level. The last sentence that 1,000-hand Devil Lord said before disappearing gave Tang Tian a huge help. When he started to close his eyes to train in the 1,000-cleaved demonic hand, he improved at a godly speed. To Orion Constellation, this was not good news. The honorable martial alliance that wanted to find trouble with Orion Constellation would definitely be like a shark that smelled blood and pounced crazily. Yes. Go and investigate. Wuxia clenched his teeth. Who exactly came up with the idea? Such a big plan is definitely not something that a little girl like her can come up with. If they did not wish for the star door to be lost, that meant that they had to send an army to be stationed there. It was the same for the other constellations where the star door was. The fight for the star door would definitely cause the regions to become extremely chaotic. Adrian was also surprised. But the Empress did not interfere much in the Battle of Lupus Constellation. It could be seen that this nephew of hers was not to her liking, and the degree of importance she placed on him was very limited. 5,600 of them. He took out 2 silver ear muffs that were shaped like rabbit ears, and wore them on his ears, causing the silver rabbit ears to tremble slightly. The battles along the way would definitely not be easy. Her Majesty has officially announced the Andromeda Plan, and is prepared to build a new city chain with Andromeda City as the core. Her Majesty is prepared to build 24 satellite cities. The official respectfully reported to Crane. His expression was filled with excitement. To the turbulent Andromeda Constellation, Angelina's Andromeda Plan was undoubtedly a stimulant. Aquarius Constellation, also known as Aquarius Constellation, was one of the 12 ecliptic palaces, and was the constellation with the most business atmosphere. Because of the Aquarius Constellation's star treasures, martial cabinets, silver Aquarius cabinets were the most common type of star treasures. At the start, the Aquarius martial artists were all in charge of transporting and delivering goods. A drop of fresh blood was injected into Tang Tian's body. Alright, I got it. Tang Tian laughed, revealing his snow-white teeth. Let's begin. Wuxia's hysterical roar reverberated in the room, without any of his usual elegance. Angelina's Andromeda Plan had completely messed up his plans. Other than the star door, Heaven's Road had many waterways. The constellations all emitted star power, and some of the star power between the constellations would interweave to form unique star power belts. These star power belts were artificially fixed and became waterways. For example, the Seasons Fields waterway was one of them. On the second day, he heard of Angelina's big movements, and called for the Manor's official to question him. Probably realizing that his last sentence was somewhat frivolous, the official immediately retracted his smile. Furthermore, Master, think about it, now that it is so chaotic, at least Andromeda City has the Great General's Plateau Army, and their safety can be guaranteed. In this chaotic world, people's lives are like dogs, and all those old fellows, which one of them are not experienced? Even the little ones can see it, so how can they not see it? As for living, Andromeda City has the best conditions in Andromeda Constellation with many star doors. It is not difficult to make a living. The Andromeda Plan had caused a huge uproar, and under such a background, the establishment of the Wolf Stronghold did not attract any attention. The 20 billion star coins also made Crane heave a sigh of relief. Ashio's expression changed. There's news. To suddenly hear that the Andromeda Plan was actually related to Crane, everyone was surprised. Chapter 407. Bing's face was gloomy, but he did not say anything. He was angry at himself. He felt that the Southern Cross Army had landed in his hands, and was actually being suppressed by Ophiuchus Constellation. That was too humiliating. Huofu Man's mouth surfaced a teasing smile. Do we need you to mobilize the army? Just send one person to settle it. Shilin stood rooted to the ground, dumbstruck. Holding on to the information obtained from Duanmu, the group started to gather. They needed to find useful information, which was Pai Pa's specialty. Even Tang Chou could not compare to her. Xilin's eyes flashed a look of joy. His father was extremely stubborn. Once he made a promise, he would definitely fulfill it, so he asked, "Can we mobilize the army?" "Is that so?" Huofu Man's face suddenly revealed a teasing smile, but his tone was extremely cold. "Then do you know how many gold-ranked martial artists have died in Duanmu's hands? Then let's use 3 Spirit City to train Xilin's character." Xilin took a deep breath. Dispelling all the negative emotions, his gaze regained its calmness and said, "Like father said, with Duanmu's strength he is unable to retreat. 3 Spirit City is definitely much stronger than what we expected. If Duanmu is killed, it is fine, but if he is not, then 3 Spirit City most likely knows of our existence. That means there is no turning back for both sides." Playboy's expression also became serious. "Since young, as long as you are serious, there is nothing you cannot do." "Good. I will give it all to you. I will bet everything on you, not a single star coin is left. You must win." Xilin was startled, then his face changed and he stuttered. He can kill gold-ranked martial artists?" "He did not return?" Huofu Man asked. His body was still upright, his military uniform neat. Huofu Man was expressionless. "Continue. From the current situation, the one who wants to make a move on us is Huofu Man and not Ophiuchus Constellation." Pai Pa's words made everyone heave a sigh of relief. "If I were to say the old man is being unreasonable directly sending an army, isn't it as easy as killing an ant?" Playboy shrugged. "Why must he do this?" 3 Spirit City interrogation room. "What?" Playboy thought he had misheard. Seeing that Xilin had calmed down, Hoffman's eyes flashed with a tinge of approval. "Then analyze it now." Tang Chou said, "If this assumption is true, then the possibility of Hoffman mobilizing his army is very low. In this battle you and I are the same. We can only win and not lose." "All right." Xilin nodded heavily. "He didn't come back." The long-robed young man braced himself and replied. He then mustered up his courage and said, "Father, we have so many powerful experts, we can send other experts over. This Duanmu is only ranked 3222 on the heavenly board. We have other martial artists that are stronger than him. It's not surprising that you know." Xilin said slowly. "In any constellation, using an army would definitely not be seen as a private action. If Hoffman did not want to cause misunderstandings, he would definitely not use his army." Everyone's spirits rose. It was rare to see a ponytailed girl like her who was always full of energy and was always full of energy. Everyone knew that for the name list, Belle had definitely put in a lot of effort. Hoffman relaxed his eyebrows, his expression regaining his calmness. "Xilin, what do you think is strong?" Xilin stared at Playboy. "You guys don't have to care about me, I will rest on the sofa for a while." Belle walked to the sofa in the corner and curled up her body like a cat and very quickly fell asleep. Playboy was like a deflated balloon. "All right, what do you want?" Xilin was not discouraged. He knew it was his father's test. Only by passing this test could he obtain his father's true approval. The power that Ophiuchus Constellation represented was too strong, and was not something that the current 3 Spirit City could defend against. If it was just Hoffman's personal intention, then it would be much easier. The feeling of being suppressed by the enemy of the past was truly terrible. Xilin was moved, but he did not say anything. He only patted his brother's shoulder, the fighting intent in his chest rising. Although he had countless of reasons to tell himself he had only been tormented for a few years, and how long Ophiuchus Constellation had been in operation for. 5. Hoffman raised his hand, the ridicule on his face disappeared, and what replaced it was the cold and merciless look of a poisonous snake. "Are you surprised? Never jump to conclusions on things that you are not familiar with. The world is much bigger than you can imagine. Can't figure it out? Some people have 10% of their strength but can only unleash 70 to 80%, and some other people with 80% of their strength in his hands can unleash 120% of their strength." Only Tang Chou sensed Bing's strangeness. The others did not understand the grievances between Southern Cross Constellation and Ophiuchus Constellation, and they were unable to link the war 10,000 years ago with Bing and Ophiuchus Constellation. In their eyes, Ophiuchus Constellation was just a declining equatorial Pallas Hall constellation, although it was once an ecliptic Pallas Hall constellation, but that was too far away. "That's right. Leave it to us. Sai Lei could not help but say gently and then snorted. With this name list, if I am still defeated by others, I will buy a piece of tofu and kill myself. Duanmu, who was in front of her, was very cooperative and spilled out everything he knew. Once Duanmu saw the situation clearly, he would not hesitate at all. When would Ophiuchus Constellation be able to ride on his neck and strut around? Father naturally has his own considerations. Shilin said, "This time I came to find you hoping to obtain your support." Shilin was outstanding in all aspects, but he was too gentle and lacked initiative. The current His Majesty was ambitious, and it was time for him to forge ahead. With such a gentle temperament, how could he obtain the Majesty's favor? Belle, quickly go and rest, leave it to us. Out of the few, the one most likely to take over his position was Shilin. This is the name list of martial artists that Shilin can use. Belle's face could not hide her fatigue, her voice was hoarse and dry. Playboy was speechless, his big brother's words he did not even have the leeway to refute. That's true. Playboy nodded his head. How many do you want? Playboy saw the cold glint in his big brother's eyes, and knew that his big brother was serious this time. But he was still unhappy. Huofu Man's last sentence was not courteous at all. Initially, Sai Lei had prepared many methods, but she did not even use a single one, causing her to be disappointed. Only through the tempering of iron and blood could he truly mature. Shilin quickly obtained the information regarding Three Spirit City. All. Shilin's expression was calm as he spat out the two words. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief, only Bing lowered his head, the fists on his hands clenched tightly. His father frowned, the long-robed young man tactfully kept his mouth shut, but he did not feel that he said anything wrong. He did not understand why his father would place so much importance on Duanmu. Could it be that his father was getting old and was starting to remember old friendships? Everyone started talking. To deal with Huofu Man, the Under the Clouds Alliance's power was mobilized, and they desperately gathered information. The stronger the person, the more they are immersed in martial arts and are not willing to use their brains because they do not need it. If a person is used to using martial arts to solve problems, do you think that when he encounters a problem that cannot be solved with martial arts he will use his brain? Naive. Huofu Man stood up. These kinds of people are only pretending to be strong. A simple scheme can send him to his grave. On the Heaven Road list, how many gold-ranked martial artists have died from schemes? Duanmu's strength is not comparable to a gold-ranked martial artist, but he has sufficient patience, a calm mind, and is able to make decisive judgments, and such a person, as long as he is strong, he can be stronger than others. You must be a person who uses his brain, Shilin. He did not need a reason to be unhappy. All of your money. Shilin hit the nail on the head. This test was given to me by my father, I must complete it beautifully. Don't worry about your money, if I pass the test, you will be able to earn back 10 times of the money. If I don't pass, the money you have now is not yours. Just at this time, Belle barged in and everyone's gaze turned to look at her. You don't have to say such words. Shilin said calmly. You and I have the same interests. If the one taking over is not me, who do you think will let you off? Oh, my big brother, did I hear wrongly? Playboy's expression was exaggerated and said in an even more exaggerated tone. My big brother actually needs the support of a trash like me. He bit his lips tightly and did not say a word. They have imposed martial law and it is even stricter than before. Playboy glanced at the report and did not care. Seems like they know you are going to make a move. Huofu Man is going to make a move on us. Belle said simply. His eldest son Shilin is making a move. Yes, father. Shilin's red and green face regained its calmness. Strong is hard to define, but the ranking on the Heaven Road list should explain some things. Shilin was unconvinced. Very good. Huofu Man nodded his head. You handle this matter, I don't care what methods you use. If you can solve Three Spirit City perfectly, then I will suggest to the Majesty and let you take charge. Money. Shilin said. Other than money, what else do you have? I'm still not strong enough. Huofu Man looked at Shilin's spirited departure, his eyes revealing a look of gratification. Since there is no turning back, then there is no need for us to cover up. Shilin's voice was like the winter wind, filled with killing intent, his white palms slashed in the air. In for a penny, in for a pound, in for a pound, we will take down Three Spirit City. Belle was no longer the same as before. With sufficient funds, her information network was expanding at an astonishing speed. She rarely went to the front stage, and with Pai Pa's suggestion she established an information organization, called Under Clouds Alliance. On the surface, the Under Clouds Alliance looked like an ordinary information organization selling information. No one knew that the Under Clouds Alliance was actually working for Three Spirit City. Chapter 408. Your Highness is right. Wuxia said, Lupus Constellation has discovered a waterway that leads to this place. It is the ancient Season Fields waterway. Angelina knows that she is not strong enough, so she formed an alliance with Tang Tian, and gave him all the land near the waterway. Tang Tian built a wolf stronghold there. If we do not get rid of Tang Tian first, once they find out that we are secretly controlling Angelina, it will definitely attract the attention of Orion Constellation. Everyone laughed out loud. Everyone's expression turned cold as they stood up straight. Wuxia was also excited. Ursa Major Constellation had been waiting for such an opportunity for too long. But he suppressed the excitement in his heart and said, Leo Constellation's counterattack will definitely be fierce. But Wuxia still felt uneasy. Yen too laughed and sat down. Master Wu's mouth can really turn a dead person into a living person. No wonder so many socialites are reluctant to leave Master Wu, and are not willing to submit to him. It makes me envious. Wuxia said with a straight face, because your highness did not snatch my rice bowl. Otherwise, once your highness appears, all the beauties in the world will enter your highness' palace. Wouldn't we be tormented every day and wish we were dead? Driving wolves to swallow tigers? Wuxia understood immediately. He frowned. What are they trying to do? His strength was also extremely strong. Yen Tu said, the Honorable Martial Alliance's request is simple. They hope that we can occupy more star doors in Andromeda Constellation. It would be best if we can control Andromeda Constellation. That's right. Yen Tu nodded. Yes, they have indeed left. Gurua's eyes lit up with a glimmer of light. He was somewhat excited. Andromedarian star door had many battles. Many unknown martial artists suddenly appeared near the star door, and engaged in intense battles with the Orion Constellation martial artists. It was said that the scene was extremely tragic, with corpses everywhere. Adrian's departure definitely has something to do with this. Then what about our mission this time? Wuxia did not dwell on this question. He believed that with His Majesty's decision he would definitely not make a mistake. Andromeda Constellation was nothing to him. Ursa Major Constellation was a tyrant that could challenge the Equatorial Palace Hall constellations. Northern Sky Constellation? In his eyes that was nothing. As far as he was concerned, this matter was a piece of cake and did not require much effort. Wuxia's expression changed slightly as he hurriedly stood up and walked towards the door. Don't be fooled by His Highness' amiable tone, as if he didn't care about anything. However, Wuxia knew that His Highness placed great importance on etiquette. If he were to overstep his boundaries he would be displeased. What's in it for us? Wuxia went straight to the point. Lupus Constellation? Chapter 409. Ding ding ding. Without thinking, Tang Tian was the first to rush out. The other members were not slow either, following closely behind, and in the blink of an eye they disappeared. Such a high degree of completion was rarely seen in the market, and almost never circulated in the market. To any powerhouse, a drop of such a blood meridian was worth more than a gold-ranked treasure. Sai Lei's face was ashen, his eyes spewing fire. Not at all, not at all. Tang Tian immediately said, just say it, I'll do it. There was also a black-robed assassin, a concealed weapons grandmaster. Someone shouted and everyone could not help but feel the same. Duan Mu, who was tied up, said he was tied up tightly but his mouth was not stuffed with a piece of cloth. Sai Lei was worried that he would be rescued by the enemy and that would be a huge problem. Duan Mu was strong and if he joined the enemy's camp, it would be a huge threat to them. Another martial artist had a sawtooth blade enveloped in green light. It was extremely sharp, the speed of the sword was extremely fast. The moment the sword aura touched the bronze figure, it was like cutting tofu without any obstruction. It was cut in half. Kill. Mozu was confident in the first tactic. He did not believe that anyone would choose to not dodge such a violent attack, but to block it. Before Wang Xian could finish, a shrill alarm sounded out from outside. The four of them are gold-ranked martial artists. Mozu and Mo Wu Wei roared at the same time. Wang Xian secretly nodded his head. There was no arrogance, he did not have the arrogance of a young genius. Everyone's face changed. Even for Onyx Soul, an organization that relied on blood meridians, such a blood meridian was not something an ordinary person could obtain. If it was converted into contribution points, it would be an astronomical figure. But very quickly everyone's face changed. Duan Mu's words caused the surrounding mechanical engineers to reveal a look of realization. When Tang Tian rushed out, the intense battle immediately entered his vision. The people who were following closely behind all had a change of expression. "Are you a gold-ranked martial artist?" Sai Lei suddenly turned his head and asked. They were like withered twigs, crushing all the mechanisms along the way. All the students roared at the same time. Damn it! Wang Xian's gaze fell on Tang Tian. This was the first time he met the true owner of this base. Yes, many of them are very strange and unfamiliar. I don't know how to describe them. Tang Tian nodded repeatedly. But in this period of time he had gradually assimilated into Three Spirit City and started to like it. Everyone could do what they wanted to do and there was a lot of communication between them. Although everyone's temperament was very strange, they would often bang the table and quarrel with each other, and it was not uncommon for them to start a fight. He had even seen a few female bloodline specialists fight with each other, but there was no complicated power struggle, no complicated human relationships. You didn't need to worry about offending anyone, and you didn't need to worry about being retaliated against if you pointed out the other party's mistakes. No. Duan Mu shook his head. Mozu and Mo Wu Wei's teams had already entered the designated area. In a battle, the defending side would always have a sufficient advantage in terms of geography. The areas where the two squads were located had been carefully set up. They could coordinate with each other and work together to seal off the entrances to the base. He released the bowstring and the red light in his hand turned into a red light arrow, accurately hitting a nest umbrella in the air. Mozu's face changed. The 4 gold-ranked martial artists were not afraid. The bald-headed martial artist held onto the bronze rod and rushed forward. Meanwhile, the martial artist with the sawtooth blade rushed toward the second class. This is Wang Xian, an experienced blood meridian specialist. Old Man Fei introduced to Tang Tian. He used to be the person in charge of Onyx Soul, but a pity he offended the people above and no one dared to hire him anymore. I just happened to pull him over. Then let us begin. The air rippled like water, these seemingly weak and transparent ripples. When the 30 powerful golden blade auras clashed with them, they were unable to move an inch. But the 4 of them were so strong, it was simply inconceivable. If it was just one of them, she might still have a chance. But with the 4 of them working together, they were not their match. The Heavenly Martial Werewolf Blood Meridian is a rare ancient blood meridian, and there is very little information left. Wang Xian's expression was calm and collected. But ever since we successfully refined this drop of blood meridian, our research on it has increased greatly. We have carefully collected information on the battles of the martial artists who possess the Heavenly Martial Werewolf Blood Meridian, and we have also researched on its side branch blood meridians, and finally obtained some possible guesses. Today we need Boss to cooperate with us and it might be more difficult. The bald-headed martial artist at the front held onto a thick and sturdy bronze rod. The bronze rod was circulating with light aura. One look and one could tell that it was a star treasure. He was extremely brave and fierce. After breaking through the city wall, he immediately jumped into the sea of bronze men. There weren't many people on the other side. There were only 4 of them, but every single one of them was extraordinarily powerful. The mechanism that captured Duan Mu previously was now full of flaws. The coordination between these people was not considered good, but every single one of them was extremely strong. Any tiny flaw in their eyes would immediately be used. Wang Xian praised in his heart, to be able to have such a foundation at such a young age. Even if the boss was placed in Onyx Soul, he would definitely be a genius. Kill. Belle bit her lips, her face extremely gloomy. Floating fingers came one after another. The bald martial artist's face revealed a look of disdain. Sai Lei's face changed. Duan Mu's strength was already strong enough to her, but he was not even a gold-ranked martial artist. Such an expert, just one was enough to make them choke, but there were actually 4 of them. A tall and slender archer stood on the city wall, his hands holding onto a bow, pulling the bowstring, but there was no arrow on the bowstring. A white-haired but extremely sturdy old man was waiting for everyone in the room. He was dressed in a tight-fitting martial artist's uniform, and was brimming with energy. It was actually a rather good place, and the atmosphere was much better than Onyx Soul. The bald martial artist's face was sinister, the bronze rod in his hand emitting a bright light aura. Facing the 30 incoming golden blade auras, he swept them with a tyrannical aura. Under Old Man Fei's lead, everyone came to a room that looked like a training room. Inside it were many different types of equipment. The archer's technique was extremely fast. The red light arrows were like rain. In the blink of an eye, the nest umbrella in the sky became a ball of fire. Only Zhou Xian and Old Man Fei were left in the room. The two of them looked at each other. The 4 gold-ranked martial artists caused the atmosphere in the underground room to become extremely heavy. But who knew that the finger auras would pierce through the layer of ripples? The bald martial artist reacted quickly. He retreated, and with a light pull of the bronze rod, he once again returned to his front. Prepare the 3rd grade battle tactic. And for this drop of heavenly martial werewolf blood meridian, it took a lot of effort from the blood meridian's laboratory. The number of blood meridians extracted involved millions of blood meridian samples, so after it was extracted, no one had ever thought of selling it. The bald martial artist's attainments in rod techniques were extremely high. None of the unpredictable finger auras escaped his grasp. They were all caught by his copper rod. He heaved a sigh of relief, but before he could do so, his pupils suddenly shrunk. Gold-ranked martial artist. All sorts of light auras suddenly lit up like fireworks, enveloping a radius of 300 m. The finger auras hit the bronze rod, sparks flying everywhere. Out of the 4 people, 2 of them were in her list, but the other 2 were not. The bald martial artist's face changed. A look of ruthlessness flashed past his eyes. The bronze rod in his hand raised up high. Facing the incoming ray spear, he swung the rod down. So ferocious. The first point of the first tactic was that the opponent would choose to dodge the first wave of attack. Chapter 4:10. Just at that moment, the sawtooth blade martial artist suddenly moved. The sawtooth blade hummed lightly, and 5 green ring-shaped blade auras appeared on his sawtooth blade. When the sawtooth blade martial artist tiptoed to a distance of 15 m away from Tang Tian, he stopped. It was his best distance to attack. One blade slashed horizontally. Chua. The sturdy ground was like a crispy biscuit, instantly turning into fine powder. The astonishing true power entered the ground. Like breaking dry weeds and smashing rotten wood, the ground around the bronze rod martial artist cracked inch by inch. Without thinking, Tang Tian bent his left hand's fingers and flicked in the air. Almost at the same time, the 5 green blade auras suddenly exploded. How is that possible? The archer could not help but shout. How long are you guys going to drag this out? The 3 flicks of the fingers were filled with power. Mozu, who was inside the mechanical spirit weapon, felt a sweetness in his throat, and spat out a mouthful of blood. The mechanical spirit weapon fell heavily to the ground, the intense impact causing his mind to go blank. There was obviously no place to borrow strength from in the air, but Tang Tian's body above his shoulder seemed to be lifted up by an invisible hand. His entire body was like a leaf blown up by the wind. A few blade auras dangerously brushed past his body. He fiercely stepped on the ground, his body like an arrow, dragging the rod on the ground, rushing towards Bing. Be careful behind you. Just a fundamental fist technique. How could he break my twisting body blade? Tang Tian was excited. I have met a true expert. Wait a minute. Looking down from the sky, one would see a circle that was rapidly expanding outwards. The sawtooth blade martial artist retreated more than 10 steps before stabilizing his body. He looked on in disbelief. A figure that was like a falling leaf lightly landing about 60 m away from him. Bringing along the intense revolving true power, it struck the blade aura. But it was such a simple rod, like a giant standing in the sea, splitting the sea and the waves. Everyone's state of mind could not help but be intimidated, as though the heaven and earth were being forcefully smashed apart by this rod. Bang bang bang. The intense true power spewed out from the bronze rod, like a spewing flame. The sudden energy undulation was like a hurricane that spread out in all directions. A wave of energy narrowly brushed past his body. A cold snort came out from the mechanical spirit weapon. Bing's poker face was covered in frost. His original intention was to get rid of the archer martial artist and the concealed weapon martial artist first. But after seeing the bronze staff martial artist so tyrannical, he changed his plan. Just so. With one strike, Tima was in disarray. Not a single person was able to stand. But at that moment he instinctively reacted, roaring. He did not retreat but instead advanced. The copper rod in his hand danced into a ball of rod shadows. His entire being was like a heavy star spirit beast, striking towards the mechanical spirit weapon. Such a fellow would have died 100 times over. Now this expert was pretending to be absent-minded, trying to lure them into a trap. Distracted? How could such a powerful martial artist be distracted in the middle of a battle? The saber light shattered. But the shattering of this saber light was like an avalanche. Hundreds of saber lights shattered almost at the same time. Must be a trap. The two of them stood firmly, their faces filled with patience. Just now, Tang Tian's continuous attacks were breathtaking. An astonishingly strong fundamental martial technique. An extremely ingenious attack on flaws. Such a breathtaking performance. When was the last time they saw it? Inside the green mist, Tang Tian suddenly raised his head. Countless snow-white saber lights blossomed in front of Tang Tian, like fireworks. Hundreds of saber auras with him as the center shot out in all directions. Ha, a big guy has come. The bald martial artist laughed sinisterly. Then die. The sawtooth blade martial artist sensed danger. His body spun, the saber auras twirling around, twirling and revolving. Dong. The blue figure in front of them suddenly became blurry. Hearing their comrades shout, the two of them looked at each other. The concealed weapon martial artist gave his comrade a look, while the sawtooth blade martial artist approached with a face of caution. Compared to Mozu's Team A, Mo Wu Wei's Team B was not much better. The sawtooth blade martial artist was not as strong as the bald martial artist, but his saber techniques were extremely crafty. Every saber aura was perfectly inserted into the flaws of the attacks. It was extremely exquisite. The two of them tensed up as though they were facing a great enemy. In your dreams. He suddenly noticed the strange situation below, where the three of them were facing each other. The archer martial artist was on the city wall, cleaning up the mechanisms. His red light arrows were extremely powerful, the cleaning efficiency was extremely high. In a short period of time, almost all the mechanisms in Three Spirit City were cleaned up by him. The originally powerful scorching light spear in front of this rod was overshadowed, like chopsticks breaking, crumbling and disappearing. The concealed weapon martial artist could not help but remind, his hands were not slow. A few shadows quietly flew towards Tang Tian, who was in the air. Tang Tian saw that the situation was not good. He knew he could not delay. Fiercely stepped on the ground like a cannonball. He rushed towards the sawtooth blade martial artist. Pa, bang, dong. He was extremely curious. Who exactly was this guy? How many years has it been since the mechanical martial artist had a gold-ranked martial artist? 10,000 years? What a joke. The concealed weapon martial artist's eyes released a cold aura. Both his arms and fingers released true power. 10 different types of concealed weapons with 10 unpredictable trajectories shot towards Tang Tian. The sawtooth blade martial artist and the concealed weapon martial artist, who had been waiting for Tang Tian to announce his name, looked at each other, their faces full of doubt. This fist was not fanciful at all. There was a slight tremor in his voice. Who is this guy? This was decided by the strength of the students. Bing was not surprised at all by the result. Tang Tian, who was in the air, suddenly felt that everything around him had become astonishingly clear. He could even see the concealed weapons flying close to the ground, bringing up a flow of air that blew a pebble the size of a grain of rice to the side. What surprised him was not Tang Tian's concealed weapons, but it was as though the opponent had already predicted his attack. In a flash, he had broken through his sneak attack without the slightest bit of awkwardness. Purposely acting like this to lure us in? All of you moved to the side. Prep. No. Fundamental fist technique. It was not only him. The concealed weapon martial artist not far away had his eyes wide open, looking at Tang Tian's gaze as though he was looking at a monster. The three concealed weapons that had bounced back did not pose any threat to him. It was obvious that the opponent's attainments in concealed weapons were not high, and only knew the most fundamental techniques, but they were solid. Bearing the brunt of the attack, the first team felt as though they had suffered a heavy blow. The heavy mechanical spirit weapons were unable to resist the astonishing power, and were immediately flung out. In midair, he swung his hips, twisted his waist, and released his fists in one breath. like moving clouds and flowing water without any hindrance. A gorgeous azure mechanical spirit weapon landed in front of him. What is this guy doing? You're looking down on us too much. Such a simple idiotic trick and you want to use it to trick us? The green mist that exploded out, quickly engulfing Tang Tian. He realized that the heavenly martial werewolf blood meridian was much stronger than he had imagined. It was extremely mystical. He carefully recalled the fist just now, but the fuzzy feeling was erratic, and in that moment he actually forgot about the two enemies in front of him. Everyone who witnessed it was overwhelmed with shock. His reaction was extremely fast. The copper rod in his hand flew around his body. Dang, he only felt his palms heat up and immediately dodged to the side. An expert. He slowly regained his senses and his heart was overwhelmed with shock. The opponent's fist had actually struck the weakest part of the twisting blade, and he himself did not know of this weakness. The 3 iron lotus seeds flew back like 3 powerful crossbow bolts. Bing's cold snort caused Mozu and the rest who had just regained their consciousness to roll to the side in panic. So powerful, to actually be able to suppress the two of them to the point that they did not dare to move, that was not something anyone could do. The concealed weapons martial artist had 10 different colored concealed weapons in his hands. All of them had different shapes and colors. His entire body's true power was accumulating. He was already prepared to unleash a fatal blow. Although the mechanical spirit weapons in front of him looked extremely beautiful and exquisite, but to the bald martial artist, mechanical martial artists were just a bunch of trash playing around. The only thing that did not move was the fist. But when he continued to sweep, the 3 of them were still like 3 wooden statues, not moving at all. The bald martial artist's heart trembled so fast. A weird feeling surfaced in Tang Tian's heart, causing his eyes to become dazed for a moment. He subconsciously followed the unfamiliar feeling, and did an action that surprised even himself. Tang Tian was like a shadow, rushing head first into the blade-light shadows. The copper rod fiercely smashed onto the ground. What the hell? The copper rod martial artist's face was filled with arrogance. He kept his rod and mocked. What bullshit mechanical army, it's just so. His rod was not fanciful at all, there was no fancy technique in it. The opponent's sharp blade technique caused Mo Wu Wei to lead the second group to be unable to defend. After a few rounds, the entire formation was already in a mess. Tang Tian stood there, his face tilted, his face in a daze, not moving for a long time. The bald martial artist had rich fighting experience and knew that he had met an expert. He could not help but be suspicious. When did the mechanical martial artists actually produce such a powerful expert? Why have I never heard of him before? The two of them could not remember, but the strength that Tang Tian had displayed caused them to be deeply fearful. But after hearing the words of the copper rod martial artist, Bing's face darkened. Bing did not have much expectations for the army that Tang Tian was leading, since the strength of the students was there for all to see. But no matter how bad his own child was, it was not up to others to criticize him. Tang Tian lowered his head. He was still reminiscing about the sudden feeling. Was it the effect of the heavenly martial werewolf blood meridians? If it was before, he could still dodge, but it would definitely be very difficult. His intuition was not strong to such a stage. Honestly speaking, Tang Tian's tactics were not bad, at least it was suitable for the mechanical army. If the opponent did not have any high-leveled martial artists, they could use simple and reasonable tactics to easily defeat the enemy. But if the opponent had high-leveled martial artists, then the effectiveness of the tactics would be rather limited. Who are you? 5 green ring shadows quietly drew 5 arcs, flying around Tang Tian's body. The 5 blade rings suddenly stopped. They firmly locked onto Tang Tian. This is a gold-ranked martial artist. Chapter 4:11. It sneakily looked around and seeing that no one was paying attention to it, it tiptoed out of the corner of the wall. Yaya's small black fist quietly clenched. The concealed weapon martial artist was struck by lightning and his body flew out. The green mist quickly engulfed Tang Tian's face, and in a blink of an eye, it was completely covered. At this time Sai Lei turned her face and looked at him with a playful smile. The sawtooth blade martial artist was in the middle of the battle, and the impact was stronger and his reaction was faster. Until now he still did not understand how did Tang Tian escape from their killing technique, but he knew if he did not support his comrade now, his comrade's life would be in danger. Bud's spirit general also needs to fight. Who exactly is he? To have the ability to kill a gold-ranked martial artist and such a young martial artist, definitely not many. Duanmu's mind went through the names and suddenly he was stunned and blurted out, Tang Tian. He is Tang Tian. All the hair on Duanmu's body stood up. This woman was capable of doing anything. Yu Feng is a concealed weapon master and a gold-ranked martial artist. I did not expect him to die here. Duanmu sighed. The archer is called Qiu Yi. He is also a gold-ranked martial artist. Sai Lei turned her face and smiled like a flower. How did you know? His wrist seemed to be weak and the sawtooth blade in his hand scattered a blade aura. Why does master look down on me? Not even playing with me, your boss. Duanmu's expression was strange. The martial artist with the bow and arrow reacted at once. His expression changed drastically as he hurriedly warned. The pain of losing his arm made the concealed weapon martial artist let out a heart-wrenching scream, but he knew that it was a matter of life and death, and clenched his teeth and rushed forward. Only by increasing the distance could he save his life. Duanmu's heart trembled. He only felt a chill from his tailbone straight up. These few days he had already experienced the power of this beautiful woman with a heart like a scorpion. Just as Duanmu finished his sentence, in the image Tang Tian's figure was like the shadow of the moon. Suddenly distorted, he appeared like a ghost behind the concealed weapon martial artist, his palm quietly imprinted on his back. Flying swift blades. In the strong winds, Squirrel's dazed face and his tail, which had been blown to the side by the air currents. Careful. There was nothing in the green mist saber radiance. The two of them combined their killing moves. If the other party did not dodge, then he was dead for sure. Even he himself would not have the slightest chance of survival in such a situation. Yaya raised her head and looked at the figure of her master in the video. Her eyes were so bright that they seemed to be glowing. The sawtooth saber warrior was startled. Without caring about anything else, he swung his sawtooth saber. The saber light that had just flown out drew a circle in the air like a flock of birds returning to their nest. It stuck to his body and carried him more than 10 zhang away. This guy already had the ability to kill a gold-ranked martial artist. No. The goat squatted down gracefully, the tortoise poked its head out of its shell, and the squirrel put his hands on his chest, wagging his tail at him adorably. The destructive spiral energy suddenly erupted. This youth's figure was like a puff of smoke, nimble to the point that he didn't seem like a human. Just now as he rushed forward, his hands were like blooming flowers. All those hidden weapons were caught in his palms. Not a single one missed. Yeah. Did he already predict all of the opponent's attacks? In the basement, Duanmu, who was tied up tightly, had a change of expression for the first time. Tang Tian did not chase after him but stopped. His expression was a little lost. But this was a real battle result. Well done. Blood splattered and an arm flew into the sky. The training method that Uncle Bing taught it was to use the swallowing light steel fist to go. Uncle Bing said if the whole clay plateau were to pop out, the swallowing light steel fist would be very powerful. The tortoise was frightened and quickly retracted its head. 3 Spirit City had Sai Lei and the twins. Sai Lei was too scary and Belle could not see him. Pai Pa was the best anyway, it was more fun than the clay plateau. Good little buddy. Sai Lei laughed and lightly patted Duanmu's face, but he was surprised. Duanmu had never seen it before, but he could guess that Tang Tian's ability was related to his blood meridians. Not long after, they saw the entrance to 3 Spirit City, and Yaya became happy. The mission of the Bud Spirit General was to fight side by side with its master. Yaya drooped its head and walked in the tunnel listless. Sai Lei laughed and leaned over, his bright red fingernails lightly scratched Duanmu's chin and said gently, "Why do I hear from your words it sounds like the opponent is giving up the victory? Isn't this our boss's strength? You have to think clearly." His gaze looked at the mechanical spirit weapon. Suddenly he saw something from the corner of his eyes. When Yaya passed through the entrance and entered the base, its soft and tender little face suddenly became serious, but its eyes suddenly lit up, like the stars in the night sky. Duanmu felt Belle's killing intent and his heart shivered. What was wrong with him today? Why did he make such a low-level mistake? Calling out Tang Tian's identity would only make his situation worse. Duanmu heaved a sigh of relief and secretly mocked himself for not having integrity, to be threatened by a woman. Even the archer martial artist on the city wall was relieved. Pu. It had been leading a group of mechanical beasts to shoot at the clock sand every day. It was extremely boring. It had not seen its master for so many days, and Uncle Bing said that it wanted to be like its master and undergo tough training to become as powerful as its master. 10 concealed weapons, bringing along 10 different types of power, entered the green mist. The sawtooth blade martial artist looked at Tang Tian in shock. The green mist was made up of countless of fine blade auras. All of these blade auras were as fine as sand, extremely sharp. They were like quicksand wrapping around Tang Tian, flowing at an astonishing speed, revolving like a green monster squirming. Yaya's mood immediately became better and jumped onto the goat's back. Impossible. The archer martial artist on the city wall had strong eyesight and he saw it clearly. Belle immediately became alert. She was in charge of intelligence and was extremely sensitive to such things. Although the two of them were careless, although they underestimated the enemy, he suddenly turned his head. He heard the faint sounds of battle. The green mist was like green quicksand, slowly sliding down. Wait a minute. At such a close distance his concealed weapons would definitely not miss. More and more green mist slid down like quicksand. Your boss's strength is indescribable. Just like the technique he used to escape from the killing technique, I have never seen it before. It is extremely powerful. It should be related to the blood meridians. The sneak attack in pursuit behind, he grasped the rhythm very well. When he made his last attack, it was also the best. When the opponent's comrade came to help, when the opponent's state of mind was relaxed, it was a fatal blow. Bang! At this time the concealed weapon martial artist's body fell heavily to the ground. His face was covered in blood. He was no longer breathing. The life force in his body was completely destroyed by Tang Tian. The archer martial artist's face was full of shock. In that moment he was in a daze. Suddenly, Duanmu was stunned. Sai Lei's extremely young boss was actually able to kill a gold-ranked martial artist under the collaboration of 2 gold-ranked martial artists. I know the Sawtooth Blade and the Baldy. They are Bai Qi and Ru Hai from the Huofu family. Who are the other 2? Sai Lei asked. Yaya held onto the goat's horns and shouted in high spirits with a childish voice. The goat sensed its emotions. Its 4 limbs suddenly exerted strength. Like an arrow leaving the bow, it rushed forward. My swallowing light steel fist has become stronger. But I have not seen my master for a long time. The blade aura was like rain. Every blade aura was only the size of a palm, like a flock of green swallows, drawing a beautiful arc, pouncing towards Tang Tian. In the basement, Sai Lei excitedly punched Duanmu. Sai Lei immediately asked. She had been paying attention to Duanmu's expression. This brat's understanding of battle was much stronger than her. Duanmu's heart once again turned cold. He was very powerful. Master is fighting. Behind him, there was a sea of rabbits that were as dense as the tide. The expression in Yaya's eyes seemed to have changed at this moment. Wang Xian rushed over and said calmly, "Are you worried that boss won't win? How many jumping rabbits does everyone have?" Wang Xian asked. Qiu Yi already regretted accepting this business. Who told him that this was a small place that did not even have a gold-ranked martial artist? He really wanted to leave, but when he thought of the astronomical penalty, he bit the bullet and floated into the city wall. Everyone be quiet. The light around the fist seemed to be swallowed by the fist, as if Yaya's fist was covered with a circle of darkness. Follow. Light. Iron. Fist. Although boss is very strong. Old man Fei looked straight at Wang Xian. But if the Lian family only wants to rely on others to protect it forever, seeing everyone fighting for your home, and you say to yourself in the corner that it's useless for you to do anything. This kind of person is probably so cowardly that he doesn't even have the courage to live. All right. Then I'll spend 2 flowers and 3 flowers. Qiu Yi did not understand, but when he looked towards the direction of the sound, his eyes widened. He saw tens of thousands of rabbits like waves approaching him crazily. Qiu Yi stood on the city wall. He was shocked by Tang Tian's performance just now. He did not plan to go down. If the martial artist with the bow and arrow got close to him, it would be bad. These rabbits, how many types of poison did they carry? Makes sense. Release the rabbits. Old man Fei raised his head and looked at him. I don't know what you are thinking, but to me this is already my home. Do we need to instigate to protect our home? Using the bow and arrow. He is on the city wall, his target is obvious. I will go too. Manager Crane is in charge. Old Man Fei nodded. But who is the boss? It's the boss. If we perform well and leave a deep impression on the boss, will Manager Crane sit back and do nothing? Stewards work for the boss. Although Steward Little Crane is pretty. His expression changed completely this time. Madame Huang Mu said calmly, coincidentally, we need to do a large-scale experiment. The light arrows were like rain pouring down from his hands. Old Man Fei, who rushed back, suddenly frowned. He suddenly stood on the table and screamed at the top of his lungs. He had heard of all kinds of poisons, but he had never heard of anyone using poison like this. Oh my God, what did I just see? Everyone worked together. The efficiency was astonishing. At most 2 minutes he would be able to neutralize all the poison. What the hell is this place? Qiu Yi felt a small thing approaching. He thought it was a rabbit that fell from the city wall. He waved his hand, intending to slap it away. Old Man Fei, isn't Manager Crane in charge of the funds now? Someone asked. Hopping rabbit? Everyone was stunned. The hopping rabbit was the most commonly used star spirit beast by the Blood Meridians experts. It was only rank 2. It was easy to breed. The hopping rabbit was good at jumping. They had high compatibility with Blood Meridians. Many experiments required them, so everyone nurtured them. Then why did you instigate everyone? Wang Xian was curious. When Old Man Fei heard that, he felt that the topic of discussion was off topic. He immediately clapped his hands and shouted, guys. Fuck this guy. Eat and drink, it all depends on today. I'll go tie up the poison bubble. Yaya became excited. But there were too many rabbits. In a blink of an eye, there were many rabbits approaching him. He had no choice but to fly up into the sky. Seeing the densely packed rabbits below his feet, he was puzzled. What was the use of so many rabbits? Suddenly, he heard footsteps coming from behind him. He immediately turned his head and quivered. The clamor gradually calmed down. Everyone looked at Old Man Fei in confusion. Suddenly, he heard an old man howling. Old Man Fei continued to fan the flames. Funds. We need more funds. Whichever project does not lack funds, don't do it. Give the opportunity to others. He hurriedly picked up the bow in his hand and shot frantically, only to see the red light arrows falling into the sea of rabbits like raindrops. The archery technique he trained in was called straight ray red arrow. The power of this archery technique was astonishing. It was a unique martial technique. It was famous for its penetrating power. It was known to be able to break through anything, but it did not have a large-scale explosion-type technique. Qiu Yi wanted to dodge, but Yaya's fist was faster than he thought. He could not dodge in time. He could only muster his remaining true power to block the fist. Heavenly Martial Werewolf Blood Meridians. It must be the power of the Blood Meridians. His tiny body stretched out in the air. His small face was stern and stern. He was brave like an ancient warrior, advancing forward. Give it to others? What a joke. All these strange old men and old ladies, all had a layer of killing intent on their faces, and looked at each other angrily. This method is sinister. Chapter 413. He was still alive. The new Sky Tiger was even more outstanding. He could easily control it, and his martial spirit was even smarter. As long as he willed it, the mechanical spirit weapon would be able to accurately execute a battle tactic. From the side, a figure appeared. It was Goat. Are you an expert from the Southern Cross Army? Sai Lei smiled. Yaya was the bravest. Duan Mu felt like he was the city wall. Tens of thousands of hopping rabbits ran over his body. How could there be such a battle newbie in such a powerful place? Can you please ask some technical questions? Duan Mu could not help but retort. It is already very exciting. Your mechanical martial artist is very powerful. This is rhythm. His control of rhythm has already reached the point of perfection. Just by relying on the rhythm, he can suppress a gold-ranked martial artist. I have never seen such a master tactician. Yaya was overjoyed. She jumped onto Goat's head and held onto its horns. Two. I don't have time to be sad. Because before I disappear I have to realize all of them. When did such a strong mechanical martial artist appear? Why haven't I heard of him before? Duan Mu quivered. Damn it, I was too engrossed. I almost forgot how vicious this woman was. Squeak. Goat's eyes lit up. His 4 limbs exerted strength. Like an arrow he chased after Qiu Yi. Goat's fighting ability was not strong. He was best at running. After Sai Lei's modification, his running ability was even more shocking. Yaya was furious. He snorted at Sanhua. There were too many things for him to do. There were too many unfulfilled dreams for him to realize. There were too many glories for him to defend. But the opponent was too fast. Qiu Yi, who was in a panic, heard the movement behind him. His face changed. In a moment of desperation, he flipped the bow in his hand to block the attack. Suddenly there was a sound behind him. He quickly turned his head. He saw Yaya holding onto the horns of Goat's head. He was scared out of his wits. Without thinking, Yaya instinctively waved its two little fists just like how it usually did. So he was a battle newbie. He would sometimes think of Sky Tiger. But he knew that was already over. Why would Yaya be afraid? His consumption is too great. Duanmu explained. Yaya, who was getting excited from killing, let out a loud howl when she saw that the enemy was trying to escape. 3 strangely shaped star spirit beasts approached. The skinny old man's 3 flowers converged crown, circled a big circle and finally arrived. This is... He quickly put on an act. I'm thinking about how to explain it. What was rhythm? For example, when you look at the mechanical martial artists cruising, it seemed to be far and close at times, but if you looked closely you would realize he would always maintain a distance that he could attack at any time. Also look, his attacks are very scattered, as if he doesn't have a target, but every attack makes his opponent feel very uncomfortable. Moreover, every time the Baldy wanted to counterattack he would always launch an attack, forcing the opponent to parry. His opponent's rhythm was completely suppressed by him and he could only turtle up. How could people live in sadness forever? Even if it was gone, even if it would never come back, even if every corner of the memory in her mind was still fresh, even if it was destined to never fade. Bing's poker face was expressionless, his gaze locked onto Baldy's weakness. Sky Tiger in the air, drew a beautiful and sharp arc like a blade cutting through the air. Baldy's sweat became denser and denser. The opponent's every attack was always at the most uncomfortable angle. The opponent was like a cunning wolf, seemingly aimlessly cruising, but filled with dense killing intent. His mental state was always stretched taut. The huge pressure caused him to start gasping for breath. But spirit generals, they are very powerful in battle. Inside Sky Tiger, Bing's poker face was expressionless. Just like his battle instincts, even though he was controlling a mechanical spirit weapon when he fought, it was still the standard Southern Cross Army style: sudden stops, short sprints, B-shaped cruising. 2-2-2. Baldy's head was already covered in sweat. He could not even touch the opponent's figure. It was the first time he saw such a powerful mechanical martial artist. The first time he saw a mechanical spirit weapon with such astonishing speed. But I will never forget. The more Yaya thought about it, the more excited she became. She could not hold it in anymore. She jumped up, both her hands raised up high, her childish voice resonating in the air. He was not sentimental. Qiu Yi's eyes widened. He looked at the small figure in disbelief. He could not imagine how such a small body could contain such astonishing power. Yaya wanted to put on a stern face, but she could not help but smile. The corner of her mouth opened up uncontrollably. At this moment she sprinted with all her might like a stream of light. Yaya, who was holding onto the horns, stared with her eyes wide open, her cheeks puffed up, her killing intent soaring. Because the weak and useless young lad now had a heart of stone. Ping, 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 ping. Qiu Yi's breathing was already very weak. The poison that invaded his body was extremely powerful. Without the protection of true power, his body was no different from a normal person. His consciousness gradually blurred. The jet-black iron fists like raindrops swung towards Qiu Yi. In the basement, Duanmu shook his head again. Baldy is going to lose. Really very strong. Duanmu's eyes lit up. I never thought that in this world, there would be such a strong mechanical martial artist. If I did not see it with my own eyes, I would not believe it. Legend has it that only the experts of the Southern Cross Army can do this. The true power that was out of control wreaked havoc in his meridians. Qiu Yi spat out a mouthful of blood. He lost control of his body and flew out. Yaya had played in every corner of the bronze base. There was not a single star spirit beast that did not fall into his hands. Although the 3 star spirit beasts were much stronger than before, it was obvious that Yaya had left a deep impression on them. The 3 of them stayed at the side obediently, not daring to move forward. Yaya's nose twitched. He raised his head, Both hands behind his back, he tried his best to tiptoe. With the face of a small adult, he slowly walked towards Qiu Yi and Sanhua. Yaya's fists were so fast that the naked eye could not catch them. The surrounding light was completely engulfed, forming a dark void. Qiu Yi flew far away. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. His right wrist was broken, his fighting power was almost completely gone. Previously, he was still worried about the astronomical compensation, but now he did not think about it. He only had one thought in his mind: to leave this place immediately. So that's how it is, I kind of understand now. Sai Lei nodded. Southern Cross Army advance. Regardless of whether it was Tang Tian, the mysterious mechanical martial artist, or the weird Bud Spirit General, they were all so powerful that they made him dumbfounded. But the woman beside him, who had a high status, was like an idiot. Sanhua immediately retreated, his face showing fear. What is rhythm? Sai Lei was confused. Qiu Yi was in a difficult situation. He dodged left and right. This little thing in his eyes was like a little devil. He only had one thought in his mind: stay away from this little devil. What? Sai Lei asked curiously. The excruciating pain from his wrist was like a tidal wave that assaulted his spirit in waves. The extraordinary bow, like a biscuit, suddenly crumbled. Plop. Moreover, this was the Bud Spirit General's first battle. The enemy's back was getting bigger and bigger in Yaya's vision. Now is the time. Yaya tried his best to widen his small eyes, puffed up his round cheeks, and exhaled loudly. Yaya hung on the goat's horn. The rapid airflow blew its body unsteadily, but it was not afraid at all. It was very familiar with the goat's sprinting. Yaya, who was flying, suddenly realized something appeared in front of him. Damn it! His light body technique was average. He usually walked the path of using force to break through tricks. He hurriedly ran. Qiu Yi's body was shaking like a sieve, waves of astonishing power from the bow to his body. It was so dense that he could not even breathe. When Qiu Yi fell to the ground, his face was already black. It was just like the time in his memory. Yeah. So that's how it is. Sai Lei understood a little, but he was a little disappointed. I thought there would be some exciting battle. He looked at the towering city wall and the colorful poison that shrouded the city wall. He secretly complained in his heart. If he was at his peak, he could totally rely on his exceptional light body technique, fly to a high place and avoid the poisonous fog. But now, the true power in his body was entangled with the poison. It would be good if he could use 50% of his true power. Yaya's arm that was hanging on the goat's horn suddenly exerted force. It was like a small stone that was shot out from a slingshot. In an instant, it flew out. Yaya's small eyes widened. It did not even think about anything else. Just like the countless nights in the clay plateau, it was extremely familiar with it. Star coins were important, but compared to his life it was nothing. The goat's eyes flashed a trace of terrifying light. It suddenly lowered its head. The goat's horn pointed forward and suddenly accelerated. Duanmu could only explain in detail. In a highly tense state, the consumption of physical strength and true power will be a few times more than usual. What's more fatal is that Baldy did not notice his own physical strength and true power being depleted. He did not put in too much effort. Sai Lei did not understand. Duanmu did not understand. He nodded. Yes. That era was the peak of the mechanics. It gathered the most powerful mechanical martial artists in history. The mechanical martial artists now are much weaker than that time. But what was truly fatal was not the fracture. The true power in Qiu Yi's body had always been in a stalemate with the poison. Yaya's punch completely broke the balance. The true power in his body suddenly became chaotic. The poison was like a tide, invading every corner of his body. Qiu Yi's hand that was holding the bow had a comminuted fracture. What's with your expression? Did I ask something wrong? Sai Lei's eyes curved, smiling like a flower. The pain in his hand made it even harder for him to concentrate. He was different from those martial artists who were good at close combat. His attacking style allowed him to maintain a certain distance from the enemy. He was rarely injured, which made him not used to being injured. Bud Spirit General's first battle. His saber radiance had been blocked and shattered before, but it had never been. The fact that the other party was showing signs of fatigue meant that the outcome of the battle was not far away. There's still a battle going on up there. It quickly and skillfully tied the three idiots on the ground into a knot, dragged them to a corner and dragged them along the base of the city wall, desperately dragging them back. The experts in the laboratory were all dumbfounded. That's true. Sai Lei regained his senses, rubbed his chin and muttered to himself, snatching that guy's opponent, that guy will definitely be furious. Why don't we try? Seeing that, Yaya panicked, these three idiots. In a panic, he immediately used all his strength. Like a strange black shadow, he circled around Sanhua's body. Ali, I've seen your report, reject it. But if his physical strength and true power were severely weakened, then it meant that he was in an absolutely weak state. Yaya looked at the sawtooth blade martial artist with a longing gaze, as though it was looking at a roasted meat leg. But when his gaze swept across Tang Tian, his body froze. Ping! The underground room immediately exploded. All the mechanical engineers' faces changed. They immediately surrounded Sai Lei, holding him tightly, afraid that Sai Lei would do something stupid. Alright, it's better not to provoke him. Then the saber aura was broken apart. Duanmu suddenly had an urge to break open the head of the beautiful lady, to see if there was a vast ocean inside. The sound of the saber aura breaking apart became even clearer. Ping! Tang Tian was also stunned. Watch my blade. Again. How could it be like this? He instinctively waved his bronze rod, but there was nothing in front of it, there was nothing. There's a conspiracy. Inside the huge city wall, there was only him and the young man in front of him. To martial artists, true power and physical strength were the core of a battle. For a long time, martial artists' understanding of their bodies was at a low level, and they thought that only true power was the core of a battle. Until the rise of the Blood Meridian's martial artists, the exploration and research of physical strength then entered a deeper realm. Tang Tian was like an angry cat, his eyes opened wide, he subconsciously leaned to the side, his left index finger piercing into the saber aura. Following that, in his vision, there seemed to be 6 points. Without thinking, his right hand's 5 fingers, like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, swept past the 6 points. Everyone in the Blood Meridian's laboratory pointed at the skinny old man and scolded, and Yaya immediately became the new favorite of the Blood Meridian's laboratory. Hey you guys, the enemy is a gold-ranked martial artist, alright. After a while, clang 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 clang, Sky Tiger flew back and Bing came out. But damn it, what kind of conspiracy is this? Tang Tian also reacted and was immediately enraged. He was shouted at just now, but he actually did not make a sound. The one who had the upper hand was the godlike young man, alright. He was not to be outdone and shouted, again. Without thinking, his figure flashed, his 10 fingers were like hooks, piercing into the saber aura, his 10 fingers shook and twisted, only to hear a ping sound. The saber aura shattered. Both parties' rod fists clashed, like 2 heavy hammers fiercely colliding. Every time they collided, the turbulent airflow would explode into a transparent circle of air, continuously flashing in the air, washing away everything around the two of them. Duanmu stared straight at the image of the blue sky tiger and muttered, too scary. The saber aura was more solid than before, more biting cold, more terrifying. 3 flowers at the crown, are you gathering at our crown? If our funds decrease a little, you'll be dead. The sawtooth blade martial artist panicked. The seemingly solid blade aura shattered like a piece of glass, breaking into dozens of pieces before turning into fragments and vanishing. Just at this time, the sawtooth blade martial artist came back to his senses and bellowed, watch my blade. Master will not scold Yaya, right? After a while, the surrounding voices pulled Duanmu back from his daze. Watch my blade. Again. The young man, who was in a daze, already made him feel extremely weird, and then everyone else disappeared, giving up the battlefield. Such a scene was even weirder. Arrange for next week's work. Spirit General. Word, it's too weird. Seeing that the enemy had fallen, the 3 flowers' gaze turned to the only remaining enemy, the sawtooth blade martial artist. 3 pairs of eyes lit up, howling, and were about to rush over. The tall and big sky tiger, under such a ferocious attack, was swift and fierce. Duanmu mocked himself in his heart. Ping. Dang. Duanmu's face was full of despair. Who can tell me what the hell is this place? That's. Sai Lei's alluring face shook with a face full of pride. Poker uncle, that's pretty powerful. Bing did not give Baldy any chance to breathe. Sky Tiger was like a ghost. His attacks changed from the gloomy and cold to the current ferocious and violent. Every attack was powerful. He felt that he was going crazy. What exactly is this place? Yaya, you're going to be a big hero in the future. Let's not bother about the false reputation. Tang Tian, who was in a daze, suddenly regained his focus. The sawtooth blade martial artist was going crazy. He made up his mind since it would not be good today. Without saying a word, the sawtooth blade in his hand trembled. The blade light was like a pool of clear water rolling towards Tang Tian. Duanmu looked blankly. Sai Lei was already sitting at the table in the continuous ping-ping-ping sound. He was knocking on the table to arrange the work for the other mechanical engineers next week. It was obvious that Bing was still brooding over the embezzlement. The two of them regained their senses at the same time, looked at each other angrily and roared at the same time. After all, he was someone who had killed his way through mountains of blades and seas of blood, and immediately understood Bing's intention, and his face changed. There was definitely a conspiracy. Swallowing light steel fist. Poker face. Well done. Sai Lei jumped out, raised his arms and cheered. The mechanical engineers beside him were all cheering. Duanmu was dumbstruck. Yaya looked around for a while, then retreated, intending to sneak back. Sai Lei scoffed. What, calm down. He's just lazy. Poker face uncle has always been so lazy. Tang Tian felt as though he had discovered a new continent, and was extremely excited. Sky Tiger's fist struck the bald man's copper rod without any fanciful movements. The dull sound caused everyone's eardrums to hurt. The surging airflow was like a storm sweeping in all directions. Being dismembered. Tang Tian was also stunned. He had just used the thousand-cleave demonic hand, which was not strange, but the thousand-cleave demonic hand could only make use of the flaws between techniques, and was unable to dismember the blade aura like that. The sawtooth blade martial artist regained his senses, and became even more furious. Watch my blade. Bing's previous series of tactics were all for this purpose. The most dumbstruck was Duanmu looking at the image, the two of them facing each other. You slash, I break, you slash again, I break again. Lazy. 1,000 people don't want to be caught red-handed. Bing glanced at her and said unhappily, you want to cheat me? You want me to snatch the crazy young man's opponent? And then deduct my funds? Not good, I fell into a trap. The mechanical engineers in the mechanical laboratory were also dumbstruck. A martial artist whose physical strength was depleted would have a certain degree of weakness in their control of true power. Out of all the people here, no one is normal? Forget it, you ran into Burn City to loot, okay? How did you become as abnormal as them? Its heart was unsure whether its master would praise it or punish it. It was hard to say. The blade aura spread out. The astonishing blade aura, with a terrifying power, pounced straight towards Tang Tian's face. Big sister, please don't. Chapter 4:15. Tang Cho was not reprimanded by Master Bing, because he knew that in Master Bing's eyes, this army was just cannon fodder. But Tang Cho was extremely angry, and it was his own anger. After waiting bitterly for an hour, Duanmu, who was on the verge of collapsing, heard the voice of God. He was finally free. He was indeed forgotten. I have to bear the main responsibility for the defeat of this battle. I have an unshirkable responsibility in the formulation of the strategy. I apologize to everyone here. After Qi Guang admitted defeat, Tang Tian did not kill him, but used him as a sparring partner to train in the thousand-cleave demonic hand. Ping, ping, ping. The three flowers were obviously not reliable, and Yaya easily tied the three of them up and dragged them back. There's no way to save them. Sai Lei raised his head to look at the screen, shook his head and sighed, then retracted his gaze and lowered his head to continue his work. More importantly, this strategy had many limitations. Sandao, you, despicable and shameless. They were long used to being mocked. Ever since they stepped into this line of work, the mockery and admonishment had never disappeared. Decline, no future, be more realistic. Mo Ziyu and Mo Wu Wei stood up straight and roared at the same time, yes. Bing came over. Yaya, you're worried that your master will find trouble with you, right? Yaya raised his head, his eyes shining, and nodded with all his might. After about half an hour, Duanmu's numb nerves finally regained their usual calmness and decisiveness. Yes. Tang Tian nodded his head. All the mechanical engineers were flushed red, gasping for breath. They could not help but clench their fists. They felt as though there was lava flowing in their bodies, burning every corner of their bodies. Yen Tu's words were filled with indescribable anger. What's there to be afraid of gold-ranked martial artists? We can still kill them. That's right, what target is more attractive than this? What target is more irresistible to a mechanical engineer? Yaya was worried, her small face frowned, unconsciously fiddling with her little finger. How will Master settle the score? Will he forget about this or... Duanmu, who was tied up, seemed to have sensed something and could not help but shiver. Scarlet Light did not resist too much at first. For a prisoner of war, such treatment was quite good. Who knew that Tang Tian's energy was limitless and he didn't know fatigue at all. The two of them glared at each other, panting desperately. At that time they were strong. At that time they had dignity. At that time they had glory. Wuxia's scalp went numb. We haven't found out yet. Yes, no one has done it, but so what? We are going to do it. We have to be the strongest. We want to tell everyone that mechanisms are the greatest power. We have been forgotten for too long. I've had enough. We will tell them that the era of traps has come. We will tell them that our era has come. We are the strongest mechanical engineers. Everyone stared blankly at Tang Chou. Ping. Gold-ranked martial artist. Our goal from now on is to become a gold-ranked martial artist. As long as we can kill the gold-ranked martial artist, we can have as much money as we want. It wouldn't be a problem for me to increase it by a few times. Watch my blade. Then Duanmu realized that he had been forgotten. He laughed at himself and quietly waited for his fate. Scarlet Light was the martial artist who used the sawtooth blade. His face was filled with anger. I have already surrendered. What do you want? You can be killed, but you cannot be humiliated. Gold-ranked martial artists have dignity. Training grounds. Very quickly, Scarlet Light felt that he could not take it anymore. He was exhausted every day. Tang Chou looked at the students in front of him expressionlessly. Everyone kept quiet out of fear. Their faces were filled with shame. Their performance in the battle was truly terrible. Tang Tian was also panting heavily. His entire body was drenched in sweat. Tang Tian did not show any signs of weakness. He stared back at Scarlet Light. But he did not sit down. Instead he held onto his knees and stood there. Tang Chou did not know that his thirst for battle, his thirst for victory, and even his pride were the same. Tang Tian looked at Scarlet Light, who was exhausted. The battle that day had given him great inspiration. What could be better than a gold-ranked martial artist to train with? What is the name of Three Spirit City now? The City of Traps. In the end, our agency was chopped up like melons and vegetables. This old lady has never lost so much face in my entire life. Subordinate. Wuxia did not know how to answer. This time we only have one goal. We want to design a mechanism that can kill a gold-ranked martial artist. Yen Tu's face darkened. Where did Tang Tian go? Yen Tu's tone was filled with suspicion. How could he disappear under our noses? And he disappeared for so many days. Tang Tian threw the blade to Scarlet Light. I have said it before. My goal is to become the strongest trap engineer in history. How can a gold-ranked martial artist dare to be tough in front of me? Tang Tian was having fun. But he did not know that a group of people in Fairy City were as anxious as ants on a hot pan. Tang Chou stood up and looked at everyone. He said solemnly, I will redesign our tactics. The intensity of our training will be greatly increased. I hope everyone will improve. Yaya's eyes lit up. Time passed day by day. In the Blood Meridian's laboratory, no one was satisfied with the battle. The one who ended the battle was Yaya, and the only thing they could do was to use the rabbit poison sea tactic, and as for how effective the poison was, they could not accurately estimate it. Tang Tian is back. He suddenly bowed. Sai Lei did not say anything about the mechanisms that they created being so weak. But in her heart she was furious. As soon as the battle ended and the most urgent work was completed, all of the mechanical engineers were called before her, and then she mocked and ridiculed them for 2 hours. No one else. I want no one else. Do you understand? Duanmu, what does all this have to do with you? One scarlet light was not enough to satisfy her. Mozu's face was flushed red. He felt a surge of blood rushing to his head. A strong sense of humiliation surfaced in his heart. He suddenly wanted to find a hole to hide in. Mo Wu Wei's face was green. He was expressionless. But he clenched his fists so tightly that they were trembling. It showed that his heart was not calm. Kill them. The era of traps. Our era. But thinking about the situation in Ophiuchus constellation, he shook his head. They were really lucky. It would take a while for the Duke to free his hands. Yaya was startled. Then he ran away happily. It's already 10 blades. How can your calculations be worse than mine? 10 blades minus 3 blades, there's still 9 blades. Bullshit. It's obviously only 7 blades. Forgotten. Bye. The word funds from Old Man Fei's mouth made all the old men and old women's eyes turn green. I admit defeat. The sawtooth blade martial artist straightforwardly let go of the sawtooth blade in his hand. He was so tired that he collapsed. He sat on the ground and stared at Tang Tian with his eyes wide open. He was so tired that his face was cramping and his expression was stiff. The Duke's operation had failed. The loss of 4 gold-ranked martial artists, adding on himself, it was a heavy loss. But after thinking about it, Duan Mu felt that to the Duke, although the loss of the 4 gold-ranked martial artists was heavy, it did not hurt his foundation. On the contrary, the strength of 3 Spirits City was exposed. It would only make the Duke pay more attention to them. And to be targeted by the cunning and experienced Duke, it would be dangerous for 3 Spirits City. 200 men roared in unison, yes. Even the most stable mechanical engineer could not help but tremble. The crowd was enraged. Killing intent soared. You think the gold-ranked martial artists are afraid? You think it's normal to not be able to block them? Hey, are you guys still men? Again. Everyone in 3 Spirit City was in a mess. Everyone was busy summarizing the battle. Although the result was not bad, no one was satisfied with the battle. So the best thing to do now is to continue to attack and act as if nothing happened. Suddenly, a scout barged in with an excited expression. Wouldn't I be the same as him if I sat down? No way. How can the winner be the same as the loser? It's more imposing to stand. Sai Lei stood on the table looking crazy. There was not a trace of her usual alluring beauty. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. They silently endured all of this, but that era where mechanisms flourished, appeared countless times in their dreams. Good. Only 7 blades. Actually, I have an idea. Bing said, you see, if you don't stay in front of your master with his memory, will he remember? Tang Chou did not know that there was a spirit general called Feng Chou. He was always thirsty for battle. You must have calculated wrongly. There are only 3 blades. The ambition in the depths of every mechanical engineer's heart that had been washed away by the cruel reality, was fiercely pulled out by Sai Lei's crazy and hysterical screams. Duan Mu had been by Duke Huofu Man's side for a long time. He understood Duke Huofu Man's character. Duke Huofu Man was stubborn. Failure would only make him more prepared. The next counterattack would be like a mountain pressing down on them. It would be unstoppable. Where did he go? What did he go to do? Yen Tu said coldly, we don't know anything. Heh, didn't you say that every corner of the manor is guarded by spies? If we can't catch Tang Tian, our plan will be a joke. Am I here to be a joke? Bing, who had abducted the child laborers, was satisfied. The funds had been cut down so much, and there was nothing better than free labor like Yaya. That's right, that's right. Tang Tian nodded his head and said, 10 more blades. 10 more blades and we will be done. Tang Tian's rapid improvement made him happy. It had been a long time since he felt such rapid improvement. But he was still not satisfied. There were only a few scattered people by his side. The other mechanical engineers had already returned to their posts, burying their heads in work. Kill them. Really 10 blades? Qi Guang looked at Tang Tian in disbelief and reminded him sternly, you are a man of your word. Right, Sai Lei seems to have a prisoner. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.